We are seriously into the 1960s now, people. Look, I have more than 2 posters in the background, and I didn't even need to get these little posters from cereal boxes or trading cards. Spoiler alert, one of these movies will win Best Picture at the Oscars, and it isn't Beast of Yucca Flats. 1961 was quite a time to go to the movies and to watch the news. President Kennedy was sworn in as the 35th President of the United States, immediately setting off conspiracy theories that his swearing-in ceremony was not actually on the moon. We had the attempt to overthrow Castro in the Bay of Pigs, so director Coleman Francis must have heard about that on set of Yucca Flats, so he immediately began work on the accurate Bay of Pigs documentary, Red Zone Cuba. Yuri Gagarin became the first person in space. What? And what the hell was 1960's 12 to the Moon all about? That's the real conspiracy. There was certainly some stress. President Kennedy established the Peace Corps, led by Gregory Peck, I'm sure, and also advised families to consider building bomb shelters. That sounds scary, but by bombs, he means protect families from the disappointing box office of Two Rode Together. And much like the movies of the 60s, I'm sure Kennedy also came with his own affair subplot. And in movie news, Gary Cooper passed away at the age of 60. In-flight movies were introduced, leading to the tragic events years later when hundreds jumped out of a plane I was on that was showing Gulliver's Travels. Cubby Broccoli and Harry Salzman officially signed the deal to turn the James Bond novels into the movies, which would begin in '62. But don't you worry, in '61, everyone will still be sleeping with everyone. Just wait until you see the first movie we got lined up. See, at least 15 of those dogs are Perditas, and the other 84, well, Pongo's got some explaining to do. This was clearly made in a different time, back when producers trusted audiences enough to know how to spell 101. For the animation department, this was a comeback for Disney. As beloved as Sleeping Beauty is now, it had such a high production cost that when it was released in '59, it was a money loss for the studio. Cut to 101 Dalmatians a couple years later, with its cute story and Disney implementing some cost-saving animation, it became one of the 10 highest-grossing movies of the year. Oh, there's other animals in it too, but what's the number again?
Sounds like a number. 3 5s of 13.
That's 15, sir.
15.
It's 101. Haven't you seen this movie, the direct-to-video sequel, the live-action remake, and that movie's sequel?
Yeah, this is a story of famous dog. But the dog that chases its tail.
That one's not as good as the original. But you're really here for one of the best villains, Cruella de Vil, who even voice actress Betty Lou Gerson's IMDb page is like, I want to wear those dogs. It's okay. It'll turn out she's just misunderstood this whole time. Get her a spin-off. The kids can go see that one, while the adults prefer to be tempted. Hoo-hoo. 1960 had plenty of adulterous forbidden fruit movies, but how about 61? Of course it does! This one's called The Marriage Go-Round, where James Mason is the husband with a problem, Susan Hayward is the wife with a problem, and Julie Newmar is the problem. Actually, I think the problem is his dick. Listen to the plot here. A college professor is married to the school's dean of women. Their colleague comes back with his, all grown-up, hot Swedish daughter. Say, when did you get all womanly? And then the young woman wants James Mason to father her child so the kid can be born with brains and beauty. So she spends the movie trying to seduce him. 'Cause that's how that works. This college is turning out the brightest. Look, you're just here for sexy Julie Newmar. Hence, when you look at clips, the first thing that comes up is her in a towel. Needs to be zanier, though. That's why we have this poster for The Girl on the Boat. A movie that looks like it's actually screaming the word zany. This British Jerry Lewis-esque comedy stars comedians Norman Wisdom and Millicent Martin about a dude who is taking care of his aunt's place, but of course invited people over for a roaring good time, and shenanigans ensue. Bro, what are you doing? You're like 45. You should be playing a college student. That's what all 40-year-olds do around this time. But if the marriage go-round was a plot that made you go, huh? Step aside, we got His and Hers, a movie that regrettably isn't about towels. This is a movie about a novelist, played by Terry Thomas, rescued by an Arab tribe. Then when he gets home, he's like, I kinda like their ways. So he tries forcing their customs on his wife. Just like the time I was rescued by a plumber and made my wife dress in a red hat and mustache. Maybe it would have been an easier sell if he was rescued by nudists and tried pushing that on his wife. Yes, it's the first nudist film of the year, Lust for the Sun, aka Around the World with Nothing On. It's gonna get very cold when you reach the North Pole. It's your standard travelogue film, and by travelogue, I mean we went to a few locations and filmed some boobs. It's educational, wink. And what do you know? There's a beauty contest winner. The winner gets this film, and the loser gets the next. Another nudist film! Nudist Life was produced by George Weiss, who would go on to produce the Olga movies. Why not? Lust for the Sun was produced by Dick Randall, exploitation producer icon, who would later produce Pieces. And Broadway My Naked Ass. Here's something I wasn't expecting, though.
A best-selling book comes to the screen.
In the 60s, they loved telling you if it was based on a book and then showing you the book. I just wasn't expecting the first trailer to do that in 61 to be the nudie cutie film Nudist's Life. Just like in the book, they're eating ice cream. See, here's the book. We're gonna get so many Oscars. And it's filmed in Florida, so come for the nudity, stay for the guy getting his dick bitten off by a gator. You've hit the ground running so hard on the nudie films, I thought the next one would be too, given it's called Look in Any Window. But it does have some sexploitation touches. The movie stars Paul Anka as a teen whose parents are shits, so he puts on a mask and starts peeping in on the neighbors. Excellent. It's the crossover we needed of Peeping Tom and I Accuse My Parents. For it's the adults who want these teen debauchery sensations too late, and the teens who are finding out too early. And these movies are all too eager to get them started early. Now who wants to put a baby in the professor's Swedish daughter? Relax, people, we'll still throw in a warning for you not to try this stuff in real life, hence Stuart Whitman as a convicted sex offender in The Mark.
Your crime is despicable, a sin, a cardinal sin.
I couldn't help it.
Your Honor, please, he was only inspired by every Mamie Van Doren movie of 1960. Come to the film to find out what moral rule of society did he break. Oh, sure, this is shot sexy, but he's a pederast dude.
Jenny, no!
And it's shot like Frankenstein. This was the best reviewed movie of the month, and Stuart Whitman even got an Oscar nomination. It was certainly a controversial film, as it was about a guy trying to mask his sexual psychopath ways, and then also being accused of committing another crime.
Untrammeled by conventions, unhampered by taboos.
Oh, don't you worry, it'll make for a hilarious episode of To Catch a Predator decades later. But how can I tell that January movies were still January movies even in 61? They've all been very hard to find clips of, trailers for, and even full copies of the movies themselves. Case in point, A Fever in the Blood, a courtroom thriller where all the trivia is the crew talking shit about it. Director Vincent Sherman said the source material was too old-fashioned, so the screenwriter tried updating it. But it was criticized for featuring too many TV actors like Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. of 77 Sunset Strip and Jack Kelly of Maverick. Most thought Zimbalist was too young for the part of the judge, including Zimbalist himself. There'll be more to work with in February of 61, as one movie features Marilyn Monroe, but yes, there is also another nudie movie, this time on the moon! Welcome to February, where we start out with a trailer that is a return to showing us footage behind the scenes. the classic crime documentary Have You Seen This, Arthur Miller? Now let's see the director. John Huston was having a stressful day, realizing that someone put the lens cap back on. But who stars in the movie? Well, we got Clark Gable's headshots, might as well have him in the film. This is clearly the beloved film They Scare Horses with Planes, Don't They? Actually, the movie is the classic Marilyn Monroe, Clark Gable drama The Misfits. We got pictures of her too, and they are way better than that Netflix 3-hour perfume ad. See, check this out. What if this was the whole movie? Give this one all the Oscars. Hey, you guys, hey, I'm Montgomery Clift. I'm here too. Here's my pictures, assholes. The movie, about a divorcee falling for an older cowboy, is so highly regarded as a classic film in Monroe and Gable's filmography, it's hard to remember it was actually a bomb upon release and a troubled production. There was severe heat in the desert, not to mention Arthur and Monroe's marriage falling apart. It was also Gable's final film, as he died 12 days after the movie's completion. However, the film itself received plenty of praise even then for its acting, and over time would receive plenty more praise from critics and audiences who would rediscover it. Speaking of things not being appreciated in their time, there was also no love for Johnny.
Byrne, I think it's rather generally expected that the Prime Minister would include you in his government. Would you care to comment on that?
Wait, where am I? Is this not New Orleans? Yes, the title of the film is No Love for Johnny. I think it's about British politics. I can't follow. Just show me where the crossword puzzle is. In the film, Peter Finch stars as a Labour Party MP and is based on the book by Labour politician Wilfred Feinberg. The movie was seen by some as conservative propaganda, given it's about a corrupt Labour MP, and the head of the studio was very conservative, but even with that, the Labour Party was still supportive of the movie, with many members of the cabinet even going to its premiere. Reviews were solid too. Peter Finch won a BAFTA for his role. The film had its world premiere in February, then came to the States later in the year. However, it was also considered a box office disappointment. But there's one way to make back your cash. Never mind 5 golden hours, I'll take 10 golden hours! I'm bound to strike it rich at some point! Ernie Kovacs can talk us into anything.
Imagine this is Rome, and this is New York, and this is the sun.
I know what all those things are! Here's $10,000! This was a British-Italian co-production starring Kovacs as a con man who swindles widows out of their money, but then meets his match in Sid Charisse, who may or may not have killed her previous husbands and is going to swindle the swindler if the other widows don't get to him first.
He pits his wits against 3 wacky, wealthy widows at the very brink of disaster.
What? Are the widows like a Three Stooges-esque comedy troupe? Interestingly, they did film 2 different versions of the movie, one in English, and they also filmed an Italian language version too, in which some of the minor roles were replaced with Italian actors. Reviews were mixed, but Kovacs cited it as his favorite of all of his movies. I trust any movie that uses the word dig in its advertising. Take more of my money! But one of the biggest westerns in the previous year was The Magnificent Seven, so get another western out there with 7 in the title. Gold of the Seven Saints. Perfect! In this Clint Walker film, they're cowboys, bandits, and trappers all fighting over gold. But if you're not going to show the book it's based on, then I will. It's based on the 1957 novel Desert Guns. The movie was also not a box office hit. Damn, early 61 audiences are like, unless your film has 101 dogs in it, we ain't going. The next movie also didn't get the best reviews of the time either, and that was Cry for Happy. And the reason critics were dismissive of it? It's a sexy wartime comedy set during the Korean War, where some of our boys shack up in a Tokyo geisha house, where there's lots of miscommunication. Critics found it too naughty, which, sure. Just write in where the military men are there having affairs on their wives, then it'll go over well. We are still due for a hit here, people, and what a film we got here. Breathless, the first feature-length film from Godard, who made one hell of an intro with this one. This French film was not only a hit upon release, but is still regarded as one of cinema's best. The movie was released in France in 1960, but got its US release in '61. In it, Jean-Paul Belmondo is a thief who kills a police officer and then tries to get with an American journalism student played by Jean Seberg so she'll run away with him, despite him now being wanted by authorities. Along with the 400 Blows and Hiroshima Mon Amour, this is another early example in French New Wave cinema, and is seen as a commentary on nihilism, but also looked at as just being a really cool movie. So much so, we'll even be talking about it again in 1983 in film, as that was when the remake starring Richard Gere came out, a great film too in its own right. Though a bit more forgotten, but was successful in Europe, was the British war film The Long, the Short, and the Tall. Can't tell if that's a movie title or an old Letterman sketch, like The Strong Guy, the Fat Guy, the Genius. We've seen a lot of war movies based on books, but this is fresh in that it's not often I see one based on a play. The film is about a group of British soldiers who get lost in the Malaysian jungle mere miles from Japanese camps. It's a great collection of actors too, like Richard Harris, Richard Todd, and Lawrence Harvey, with Todd and Harvey famously not getting along on set. Oh, everyone hated everyone back then. For instance, in the next film, Nude on the Moon was famously tired of all of these nudists making its craters look like anuses. Of course, directed by Doris Wishman, I'll give it this, it's got more of a plot than a lot of other nudie movies too. It is the plot that turned it into the cult classic that it is.
The beginning of a new and unbelievable adventure.
Astronauts land on the moon, where they find a civilization of nudists, and somewhere Captain Kirk is weeping that this is not one of the strange new worlds and new civilizations he boldly went. Kudos for not even attempting to make this look like the moon. Even 12 to the Moon tried their best, and that moon was full of steam. Again though, this led to the famous moon conspiracy theories that the moon landing was fake because there were no naked women in the background. And where's all the greenery? And where is Reptilicus? A movie where nature also defies its own laws? So is this supposed to be on the moon too? Reptilicus is pretty well known in its home country, as it's the only giant monster movie from Denmark. Witness how no one saw it coming. Yeah, let me finish my makeup and I'll be shocked in a second. Let's get some more panic in here.
A monstrous, massive beast whose astounding appearance causes panic.
Why blame Reptilicus? We still don't know if it was simply termites. This was also a movie filmed in two different versions, one where the cast speaks English and the other Danish. Perfect double feature with 5 golden hours! That movie also had Ernie Kovacs defeating widows with his acidy spit breath. Reptilicus is having an easy time here. You know, that's kind of all on you. What did you think was gonna happen? Reptilicus is definitely worth checking out for fans of monster movies, and it is sad we never got the Reptilicus vs. Dinosaurus movie, which would have been the team-up for the early 60s. On second thought, maybe 5 golden hours is a better double feature with The Great Imposter, unless one of Tony Curtis's disguises is that of a giant monster with acid spit. We know he pretends to be a school teacher, a warden, a monk, and a surgeon. Yes, let it be known that we dudes will do anything to get laid. It's not even about the money. We just need someone to pork. See, he's got a hot girl in every portrayal. A master of disguise the limit. It's all in the book, people. A how-to guide on if you dress like a monk, women will try to fix you. It also helps if you look like Tony Curtis. Really, that's the most important part. You can read all about it in the magazine articles it's also based on. Uncover the truth!
For the prison warden had himself served time. The Navy surgeons had never been to medical school.
Long story short, we had terrible hiring and screening processes in the 60s. It's almost the Catch Me If You Can of its time, with significantly more prison fights. It feels like you're watching a movie version of one of those documentaries about con artists. If the con artist was the freaking hero. Come for the music of Henry Mancini, stay for Tony Curtis saying, "Why yes, I am a movie composer." Coming up next, we got more giant monster movies and criminal films. So far, the con men are largely outnumbering the adultery movies this year. Welcome back. I'm sensing another Western or possibly another nudie film. What? Oh, Posse from Hell. Okay, so it's a Western and they're clothed. Again, after the 1960 hit The Magnificent Seven, here's another let's get a team of cowboys together and go after some bad guys movie. This time led by Audie Murphy, with a poster that if I take my glasses off, could be Yul Brynner and Steve McQueen in The Seven. There were some other notable names attached too, especially character actors who did a lot of westerns at the time, like John Saxon, Lee Van Cleef, Vic Morrow, and it was the directorial debut of Herbert Coleman, an experienced assistant director and associate producer who worked on a lot of Hitchcock classics like Vertigo and North by Northwest. The film's screenwriter, Claire Huffaker, also had Western experience, as he would write the Comancheros that'll come out later in '61, plus he wrote Elvis's 1960 Western Flaming Star. And 7 Ways from Sundown? See, 7 in the title. Was that why he was hired for this movie? And don't throw away your chaps yet, because we got a rebel on the way! It's not a Western, but it sounds like it could be. Maybe that's why in the States they retitled it Call Me Genius, since there was a show at the time named The Rebel. This British comedy stars Tony Hancock and is basically a movie version of his radio and television series Hancock's Half Hour. Oh, so it's not an origin of the Ministry of Silly Walks. The film is about a man who attempts to be an artist, as it's a satire of the pseudo-intellectual crowd.
That city of beauty and culture, he found it.
Whoops, see, that's why I keep my paintings hidden in case of assassination attempts. Given that it makes fun of the snobby types, that means critics didn't care much for it. But why? The movie has sexy saxophone music and other stars too.
Dennis Price as a priceless surrealist.
See, it has puns and actors too, but come for the puns and the animal reactions.
See Hancock, the action painter, in action.
Someone pay for one of his paintings so he doesn't resort to eating me. It's like Herschel Gordon Lewis's Color Me Blood Red if he didn't paint with the blood of people he murdered. There will be more death in the next one, as it's not just any Hammer film, but the first Hammer film to give Christopher Lee top billing. And it's one that might not get a lot of re-airings. The Terror of the Tongs? No, our grilling utensils have gotten a mind of their own and are going on a kill-crazy rampage. Oh, I blame the cow. Oh wait, the Tongs are a crime syndicate family. Got it.
This was Hong Kong at the turn of the century.
It was filled with white dudes in makeup. Weird. Ooh, wait, suddenly I'm not outraged. Give me 12 tickets. I love that there's a whole genre of Christopher Lee playing Chinese villains, and not all of them are Fu Manchu movies. The makeup's not unconvincing. It's way better than the Conqueror makeup. They did a fantastic job of making him look just like Peter Sellers. Now time to get into a brawl about whether he's more passing than Sean Connery. We'll let them fight it out, because we got a classic coming in here. The Twilight Zone classics, Time Enough at Last, and The Obsolete Man. Oh, Absent-Minded Professor, got it. One of the top 5 highest grossing movies of the year, and a critical favorite of the year as well. In other words, better than the 1997 remake Flubber. This was a time when you get Disney, Fred MacMurray, and Old Yeller and Darby O'Gill director Robert Stevenson together, and you're gonna have a hit. In it, Professor Ned Brainerd creates Nickelodeon Gak. only if it were more anti-gravity that helps out the basketball players in Tall Story. And they can have an easier time pitching Chitty Chitty Bang Bang as well. Everyone's gonna want that invention. Whoa, this is going too far. A hired killer and he's deadly? Oh, this is another movie. Blast of Silence. This film noir stars Alan Barron as a hitman hired to rub out a mob boss in the jungles of New York.
This is the asphalt jungle with its fancy women and fancy hoodlums.
There's also drums, lots of drums. Bring your ibuprofen, you may get a headache. The movie got mixed reviews upon release, but later given plenty of love, especially after being reissued under the Criterion Collection. It's also notable for shooting scenes like this during Hurricane Donna, and it gave some work to blacklisted writer Waldo Salt, and with narration by Lionel Stander, a blacklisted actor. I am here for the unforgettable experience and suspense, more so than the seconds ticking off a timetable for murder. That's a complicated sentence. Don't know what that means, but it's a cool-looking thriller. It's a neo-noir, so we know it's well shot. And after the marriage go-round, we continue with movies now famous for sexy towel scenes. In All in a Night's Work, we'll find out what's between these two stars. I'm guessing it's booze. This intro by the actors is odd.
This is Dean Martin,
This is Shirley MacLaine.
and we're staying as far as possible.
Away from one another.
Yep, that's what the court said.
Well, what chance does a girl have?
What chance does a guy have?
Hey, damn it! They're gonna start banging. It's a sex flick now. Do you mind? We're gonna get naked on the moon. Whoa, and even I can get it? Come see our movie, and you too will get laid. This is a screwball comedy where Dean Martin gains control over his dead uncle's publishing company, but the man may have been murdered and somehow connected to Shirley MacLaine. Whatever, who cares if she's guilty or not? She's hot.
What does a girl have to do to get a present like this of tourmaline mink?
Wear a towel and let us film you. Remember, it's the funniest, raciest comedy of the year, not the funniest, racist comedy of the year. This movie is far kinder to people who are part bath towel. Sadly, my towels are all in the wash, but I'll carry on regardless. No, really, that's the name of the next movie! The British comedy Carry On Regardless, the fifth film in the popular Carry On series, with this being one of the 10th highest grossing movies in the UK. I don't know, this movie better not get zany. We haven't fully animated the opening credit sequence yet, but at least look at these wacky shots. The movie is about the Helping Hands Agency, a group of silly buns who do odd jobs around the city, including walking chimps. See, here's your problem. You have multiple people for these jobs when you really only need one Tony Curtis. Wrap it up, boys. We'll see you next year and carry on cruising. Oh my. They'll open up a business dealing in lips or hips. Enough of that, though. Someone else is dead.
This was the girl. This was the crime.
That'll teach you to move in on Saltzman and Broccoli's James Bond negotiations. I think I know who's at fault here.
These are the men whose brutality unleashed a flood of passion.
Oh, Robert Blake and Kirk Douglas, what have you done now?
These four men attacked my daughter! I want them killed!
In fairness, he screams like that about everything. He said the same thing yesterday about someone taking the last Pop-Tart. This is a courtroom drama where Douglas defends a group of soldiers on trial for rape and murder. Ooh, In Cold Blood meets Paths of Glory. Okay, I can dig it. Town Without Pity is mainly known now for its theme song of the same name, sung by Gene Pitney and written by Dmitri Tiomkin, which got an Oscar nomination. So much so, I remember the song but forget it was a movie, unless that movie is Look Who's Talking. Eventually, the trailer just plays the song, once it gets through with lines like this.
Does it give you pleasure, Fräulein Steinhoff, to expose your body to men?
Nein, ich sagte doch, das habe ich nicht getan.
That's a lot of words for absolutely. However, I'm sensing some sort of panic with the next film.
Everyone knows what this is.
Damn right, Australia, bro! Underworld USA is introed by director Samuel Fuller like he's Joe Friday.
And in order to back up my story, I had to get facts. Well, I dug deep.
I wish he introed his later movie, White Dog, the same way. Something is a threat here, people, and you need to be scared.
This world, with all its quiet brutality, is a threat. It's a threat to everyone, everywhere.
Don't get too excited. He's really talking about keeping phones so close to the pool. That's an accident waiting to happen. It's another neo-noir crime thriller, this one a revenge film about a kid seeking revenge against the mob for killing his father. Wait, Cliff Robertson? Uncle Ben? Spider-Man would have been a lot simpler if Peter just went out and shot the people who messed with his family. And with more sex, of course.
Living as though every minute could be their last.
And it's also the most disappointing minute of my life. Look, you're gonna get your film noir money's worth. See, sinister men in hats casting a shadow. We're good. And also a line about today's news, but it may be too wet to do the crossword. Still not enough noir for me, though.
You know how to handle glass?
There. Thunderous orchestra and fast talking. This one's got all that, too. The film is The Hoodlum Priest, but not quite Monsignor Martinez.
This is a man who knows the jungle, the half-world of crime, like no other man.
He's also been to the Amazon once. I mean, sure, it's a movie about being a priest to gang members, but... we're gonna need closer examination on this full-figured sin. It's a true story about the real-life Father Charles Clark, made to be a humanizing story about criminals and those incarcerated.
Why did the cons trust him with their secrets? Had some of the underworld rubbed off on the hoodlum priest?
Or is he a cooler, bringing bad luck to those on a winning streak? The film stars Don Murray, who also co-wrote and co-produced it as well, but the biggest name attached is that it's an early directorial effort from Irwin Kershner. Yes, from the director of Empire Strikes Back, going right into enemy territory.
Filmed where it happened, ripped from the side streets where violence raced.
See, if this were the 80s, we'd just send in Charles Bronson dressed like a priest to simply blow up the neighborhood. That'll take care of crime. We've had some movies that got mixed reviews and not so great reviews, but they all probably had better reviews than Dondi, with a poster that looks like Short Round came to visit Indy at college. And then they were chased by the trio from the Devil with Hitler comedies. This is a movie adaptation of the comic strip by Gus Edson and Erwin Hasen, which was about a 5-year-old World War II orphan. The film version stars David Janssen, and in the title role was David Corey, son of one of the Rockettes, and it was his only film role. It was ambitious in that they envisioned a sequel and a television series after, none of which happened due to the low box office, and it's mainly notable now as being featured in the 50 Worst Films Ever Made book. I think due to some obnoxiousness.
Mama sent me this all the way from Egg Harbor. How'd you like to put it way up on top of the tree?
Oh, gosh!
One rewrite and it could be that Freddy and the Dreamers movie I watched. I'm just mad we never got that Dondi vs. Conga crossover. Yeah, people are panicking again. You know, if you keep terrorizing the citizens, they'll eventually stop being scared. Especially when it's a drunk guy in a suit.
There's a huge monster gorilla that's constantly growing to outlandish proportions loose in the streets.
Why, that's just like King Kong. Hello? They'll even reference King Kong on the poster. Just think of this as a less hornier and less rapier version of horrifying experiments of the SS Last Days. Oh, wait, Michael Gough? So that's why Poison Ivy was in a gorilla suit. The movie was made due to the success of the producer's I Was a Teenage Werewolf, as the filmmakers wanted their own colorized version of King Kong. Sure, come for the monster action, stay for Michael Gough as a walking sexual assault case mad scientist. It's got other cool stuff in it too. I dig the man-eating plant effects. There's awesome rampage stuff, with even critics at the time saying the movie was fun. It was popular enough to even spawn its own comic book series. And whoa, Spectimation? I'm pretty sure that's a fancy way of saying superimposing. Conga is indeed the last word. Unless, of course, there's another monster movie coming up. And there is. Gorgo is literally the next movie. What a month for monster movies. Gorgo, Conga, Dondi, odd triple feature. Alas, it's the most astonishing event, at least of the week. There There was only one to be featured on Mystery Science Theater, and that was Gorgo. This co-production of the US, the UK, and Ireland is ripped from the headlines.
The headlines of the world blaze the fabulous story of this monster from another age.
Oh yeah, true story. The real story.
I can't let him go back to the sea where he belongs. Maybe to save our silly skins for you.
Huh, well, at least we got Dondi versus Gorgo. Thank God the boy was here to warn the adults that this giant beast will attack.
The infant, the adult.
Oh, we're a little slow. Like with Conga, the movie also had a big enough audience to spawn a comic book series. And damn, a lot of these shots do kick ass. Even when he destroys the city, after they were nice enough to put up a welcome sign for Gorgo. But really, we're here for the realism. Fleeing citizens will shit their pants once more. Even the monsters need to take a bit of a break though, as the westerns are back. See, the word magnificent is in its advertising. This is a very noteworthy movie, as it's the only film to be directed by Marlon Brando, and that film is One-Eyed Jacks, which plays like a western crime thriller, where two bank robbers get away, but when Carl Malden betrays Brando, that sets Brando off for a quest of vengeance. There's a lot of passion behind this film, which is a gorgeous-looking movie shot by Charles Lang, who got an Oscar nomination for it. The movie is very loosely based on the novel The Authentic Death of Henry Jones, and the script had uncredited work by Sam Peckinpah and Rod Serling, plus other writers came in too, many of whom were fired by Brando. Even Stanley Kubrick was at one point going to direct, but left in pre-production, and then Brando stepped in to direct at the last minute. Sadly though, the movie got mixed reviews upon release, and underperformed as well, leading to a slump in Brando's box office career. It was even so forgotten that it went into the public domain, but then gained tons of love years later, with many sticking up for and praising the film. It was given a 4K restoration and re-release at Cannes in 2016, which was supervised by Martin Scorsese and Spielberg, plus it was selected for preservation in the National Film Registry. It's worth watching, if anything, to see the one Brando movie directed by Brando. Coming up next, the combination of costume flick and monster movie, The Minotaur. Will it also be directed by said Minotaur? Let's find out. 1961 is getting even more sinful than usual. The next one has the word sin in the title. Here's where we play 60s love triangle movie or 70s giallo thriller where the sins of Rachel Cade asks, how could it happen to Rachel Cade? What are you asking me for? I don't even know who Rachel Cade is! Just like I still don't know who Johnny is, despite Peter Finch also being in this film. Angie Dickinson stars as Nurse Rachel Cade, who goes to the Congo to help her fellow man and falls in love with a colonel and James Bond? If this movie starred Dean Martin, it'd be a rollicking screwball romantic farce, but it's got a sexy lady lead, so it's sinful and serious as a freaking heart attack. Look, with this imagery, just picture it as Hell of the Living Dead, with no topless scenes or zombies. We're gonna get awfully scandalous in the next movie too, from Louis Gilbert, the director of Sink the Bismarck.
You must sink the Bismarck.
Bismarck sunk, now we can focus in on summertime, as in Green Gage Summer, a coming-of-age love story about a young girl's awakening in the summer of evil. Again, this would have been a rollicking good time if it starred Dean Martin. However, he would have been miscast as a teenage girl. But trust me, this is another love triangle that is also no fun and games. People usually grow up once they fall to their death. This was the first leading role for Susanna York, plus Kenneth More even called it his personal favorite of his movies, even if some of the others felt he was miscast and would have preferred Dirk Bogarde. Enough seriousness, let's get back to the zany, as in a Peter Sellers Herbert Lom classic. No, not the Pink Panther movies. I mean Mr. Topaz. I'm assuming it's a comedy. Why do all the British comedies of the year all look like the same movie? But like how Green Gage Summer was renamed Loss of Innocence in the States, this one was renamed I Like Money after a disastrous British release. It was the directorial debut of Peter Sellers, and even added negative reviews to the promotions to get audiences to make up their own minds. Because of this, the movie went into obscurity for a long time, with Sellers rumored to have destroyed public domain copies and the British Film Institute having the only known copy, which they did restore and re-release to far, far better reviews from critics and audiences than it had during its original run. But getting rave reviews of the time was La Dolce Vita, Fellini's 1960 film, which got its US release in '61, winner of the Palme d'Or, nominated for Best Director, Best Screenplay, and winner of Best Costumes, plus beloved by cinema snobs of all generations. Never saw it. Often considered to be one of, if not Fellini's best, this is a mosaic approach to storytelling, as it deals with a week in the life of excess, with pop culture being rebuilt from a world of poverty, bringing back the orgies of Caesar to a modern time. Or it could be a satire of the second coming of Christ, who may or may not be Marcello Mastroianni as a tabloid journalist yearning to be an important writer, but is saddled with gossip stories and partying. Just like when J.D. Salinger was forced to write about the Kardashians. However, I feel like I've been partying a little, considering how the next movie starts.
Don't take your eyes off this screen. Watch this man very carefully.
Oof, is it all shot in drunk vision? Madison Avenue is a movie about ad man Clint Lorimer, who will do anything to get to the top.
Yesterday it was Ann, his boss. Today it's Peggy, his pal.
And that anything is, of course, he gets so laid. What? He's even banging Larry Tate? Ah, yes, thank you. I assumed it was based on a novel. Clearly another unauthorized bio on the legendary Cash McCall. This one stars Dana Andrews, who is less subtle than Cash McCall.
When a man is doing business with a woman, he doesn't want her sex thrown at him. It's distracting.
Right? It's your fault I keep staring at your tits. Put those weapons away! He's got his own methods with the ladies.
He taught her how to use what she's got. Too well.
He taught her to tie licorice in a knot with her toes. It's also got Gene Crane, who knows the kind of company he keeps.
Do you always get a memo from the boss saying, suggest you make love to so-and-so tonight? Do you ever make love on your own time?
Does he have a pimp daddy? Plus, it's got Eddie Albert if he stayed in New York and didn't move to Green Acres. And that's Madison Avenue. Just picture an episode of Mad Men if it was written by an actual pack of Lucky Strike cigarettes, and you get the gist. But if you saw Conga in '61, odds are you also saw Master of the World, as the two movies were often released as a double feature. This one is based on the novels of Jules Verne, with a script by Richard Matheson, where Vincent Price is Robert, captain of an airship.
Years before man believed he could fly, Jules Verne wrote about a ship like this.
Also adapted as Robotnik's ship in Sonic 2. When he takes hostages on this ship for world domination, who will stand up to him?
His unwilling guests are Charles Bronson.
Oh, well, Robert's gonna die. This is an important film in Bronson's career, as it was his first role as a leading action hero instead of a supporting hero. Yes, the movie was made off the successes of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and Around the World in 80 Days, but I think Price just wanted to mess with people.
This is Robert speaking. Do exactly as I say, you have no choice.
The prototype for the God of Zardoz mainly just confused the people. Things may be blowing up real good, but I still have faith in our heroes.
Destroy the Albatross.
And ourselves with it?
Well, I mean, yes, I will destroy the neighborhood, but I'll be fine. This is what it would look like if Willy Wonka attempted world domination. And not a pirate ship painting in sight will be spared from a good sinking. And I promised you a costume flick and a monster movie in one, and that's what you get with the Minotaur, the wild beast of Crete. Not directed by the Minotaur, though. It's directed by Silvio Amadio, so it's an Italian film. Well, duh. and it's about Prince Tesso, played by Bob Mathias, an Olympic gold medalist who here takes part in the most important part of the decathlon, saving the princess from a huge mythological creature who will eat them both alive. I don't care what anyone says, Super Mario Coliseum is awesome! And while the movie adaptation of Master of the World was a combination of the novel Roper the Conqueror and its sequel, same goes with the movie adaptation of Sanctuary, which was based on William Faulkner's novel Sanctuary, and its sequel, Requiem for a Nun. All practically the same film. One's about a madman who destroys things with an airship. This one's a southern potboiler about the goings-on in the governor's mansion, where the household servant maybe murdered the daughter's baby, and there could be a Cajun rapist. Sounds cheerful. You know what we need? More entries in the Legs Diamond cinematic universe. That's right, in case you forgot about the 1960 film The Rise and Fall of Legs Diamond, in 1961, we have Vic Morrow as Dutch Schultz in Portrait of a Mobster, which deals with Dutch joining the Legs Diamond gang. And like in Rise and Fall, Legs is once again played here by Ray Danton. It isn't from the same director as Rise and Fall though, but it is directed by Joseph Pevney. You know what else he directed?
Cash McCall.
You know him?
I know the type.
That's why Dutch and Legs are defeated by a drive-by Cash McCall cock-blocking. If you think the crime-ridden streets of the States are dangerous, head over to Europe with its spot-on realism. That is exactly what Richard Widmark's O-Face looks like. Here, Widmark stars as a mercenary hired to smuggle a resistance leader during the Hungarian Revolution. The Secret Ways was based on Alistair MacLean's novel, The Last Frontier, but did have some interesting things behind the scenes. It was produced by Widmark, whose wife Jean Hazelwood wrote the script, and he hired Phil Carlson of the Phoenix City story to direct. But Carlson wanted to get an early jump on the upcoming James Bond-style adventure film, so they could be the first with that tongue-in-cheek action style. Widmark hadn't heard of the Bond books, so he didn't want the movie to be like that, so Widmark himself took over as director late into production. It also had an early score by John Williams. You can tell he's young, he's called Johnny Williams. When the Bond movies would get made though, that score would obviously be done by Johnny Berry. I'm so used to doing 80s episodes though, that when I see a month that has a Charles Bronson movie and a J. Lee Thompson movie, I'm surprised they're not the same film. One's Master of the World, while J. Lee Thompson directed the classic Guns of Navarone, one of the great big-budget war films, produced and written by Carl Foreman, previously of Bridge on the River Kwai. It's a great ensemble film you could watch with The Dirty Dozen or The Great Escape, with this one starring Gregory Peck, David Niven, Anthony Quinn, Stanley Baker, and James Darren. Yes, we get to see his wartime past before he began working with Officer T.J. Hooker. Here, a group of commandos infiltrate a Greek island to destroy long-range field guns and free British prisoners. Don't worry, it's sexy too. They weren't lying about this being a great adventure. It was the second biggest hit of the year. See, here they are celebrating by tipping over some trucks and destroying them. Now let's get to Gregory here on speakerphone to tell us more.
This is Gregory Peck speaking. And I'd like to tell you something about the Guns of Navarone.
Ugh, he's also gonna sell us insurance, isn't he? I'm sensing hostility in the heroes.
What makes it even more desperate and impossible is that some of us hate each other even more than we do the enemy.
It's his goddamn snoring. I'm gonna stuff a sticky bomb down his throat myself. These actors are all out legendarying each other.
You got me in the mood to use this thing. My God, if you don't think of something, I'll use it on you.
This is the movie where Gregory Peck takes David Niven over his knee. In case you get too scared from the enemies approaching in the storm, or all the mountain climbing, don't worry, you'll still get a prize kiss. The loser has to babysit Dondi. Ha! You're all dead!
Give up quietly, gentlemen. Unless you want a great many innocent people killed as well as yourselves.
And this has been an entire movie of What If It Exploded? Very funny, Lloyd. You want to be the one to piss off Gregory Peck?
The Guns of Navarone is probably the most exciting film you will ever see.
I guess, but where's the Minotaur? Wait do you see the variety we have coming up next? We've got a beloved Sidney Poitier classic, a Russ Meyer skin flick, and a Coleman Francis film. What a time to be alive! And now it's time to start out May with a movie so bad, Dondi is like, oh thank God, no one's giving me crap anymore. And that movie is The Beast of Yucca Flats, from writer-director Coleman Francis, the first of his trilogy, which later included The Skydivers and Red Zone Cuba, all given new life when they appeared on MST3K decades later. You know you want this.
Coming to this theater soon, The Beast of Yucca Flats.
Is it? Is it really coming to a theater near me? But look, the trailer opens with the nude scene that opened the film and had nothing to do with anything. Come for the sexy ladies, stay for the Coleman staples of planes being used for vigilante justice, where scientist Tor Johnson is a man turned into a hulking murderous beast after being exposed to radiation on the Yucca Flat. That or he's giving them a good back and neck cracking. Let's finish this trailer out. That's the end of the trailer, by the way. This guy is telling the audiences this is the same confused look you too will have on your face. He must go now from a movie considered to be one of the worst films ever to a big budget costume flick.
In eye-staggering action that for bigness and excitement has never been equal.
And a lot of people more so remember the Coleman Francis movie. Being notorious will do that. Atlantis is directed by George Pal, who, as the trailer says, had plenty of luck with his previous hits, especially 1960's The Time Machine. Here, with this one being about the fall of Atlantis, it didn't get quite the same critical praise. Hell, even today, look at this smart-ass IMDb synopsis. Welcome to Atlantis, where royal guardsmen wear uniforms that could easily be from the wardrobe of Ming the Merciless, and some unfortunate slaves are turned into bovine-headed beasts. The hell? Did I get drunk and write that myself? Don't worry, all of this is in the history books.
And millions of words of controversy by science, literature, and even today's headlines.
That was the preferred reading in the public restrooms in Atlantis. Seems like an okay place to live. Look, they even have their own pope. It's fascinating to see what kind of beasts roamed Atlantis before it was rediscovered by Michael J. Fox. And there's romance.
For even in those days, love wasn't too different than it is today.
He's cheating on her. The movie does have a lot of cool set pieces with miniatures and stop-motion animation, but it was heavily criticized for using too much stock footage from other movies, including Pal's Zone: The Naked Jungle. Granted, some of the makeup work, A
diabolical laboratory where humans were transformed into half men, half beasts.
Or if that doesn't work, we'll just throw a mask on you or something. It seems Atlantis was destroyed by too much plot.
And learned to store the energy of the sun in giant crystals, then use them to create secret weapons.
Damn, people really didn't know what to do with death rays till Bond showed up. And the biggest twist, that this isn't an Italian film. You know what we haven't had this year? Wealthy family melodramas about business tycoons.
From under these endless miles of white cloth come the incredible fortunes of Connecticut tobacco.
Oh, damn you, Atlantis, you struck again! Don't worry, the pamphlets have been saved. Look!
As a novel, this story fascinated millions in many languages.
I don't have time to read it. Just give me the gist of it, son.
Can do. The film stars Troy Donahue as the title character Parrish, who lives on a tobacco plant, with his stepfather being a competing tobacco owner. Oh, just let the star tell you.
Hello, I'm Troy Donahue. I play Parrish.
Whoa, did I waste a Simpsons reference? I didn't know Troy McClure would intro the film. Sure, there's the tobacco business we can get to, but he's got 3 types of ladies on his mind.
The one who introduces him to love, the one who teaches him what love is not, and the one, if he's lucky, who will stand by him for the rest of his life.
What about the one I paid good money for to massage my feet? It was a popular enough movie at the time, despite critics not caring much for it. Is it because of the campy melodrama?
You know, she can have as big a yen for somebody as I can.
Damn it, is that all you can think about?
I bet that's what it is. Damn it, you whore! Given the bickering family melodramas of 1960, I'm almost surprised Robert Mitchum isn't in this. Even still, God, I'm loving these lines.
You're still a common garden variety tramp.
Whoa, Jesus, okay. The hell is this fight about?
If I ever catch you within 10 feet of my fence again, I'll come over after you and knock your brains out.
My God, I would 100% go see a movie taking these kinds of extremes in a fence dispute. There were different names attached. Joshua Logan was signed on to direct at one point, with Anthony Perkins talked about for a role too, which would have reunited the two after Logan directed him in Tall Story. Eventually, though, it went to director Delmer Daves, reuniting with Donahue after A Summer Place in this big tale of weddings and
everything that erupts in the dangerous emotion and blazing drama of today.
I told you, Atlantis, bro. They kept in the lasers from the book. I know what reteaming you're waiting for after 1960. That's right, the reuniting of Russ Meyer and boobs. After the success of The Immoral Mr. Tease, now we have another great title, Even the Handyman. Alright, I'm fixing the leak in this damn tub whether you want me to or not. While that one was a peeping Tom skin flick about a dude with magic X-ray vision who can see through clothes, this one is about a lady stalker who follows around a handyman who he himself also likes peeping in on naked girls when he's cleaning toilets. Eve is played by Meyer's wife, Eve Meyer, in her only role in front of the camera, but she'd do plenty of work behind the scenes. The movie was again a big hit for Meyer, as it's a profitable year for skin flicks all around. I understand why they're such big hits. One nudie movie had nudists on the moon. This one has a scene where the handyman dresses as a doctor and delivers a baby tree. Seriously, 60s sex was weird! Let's return to something normal, like gossip and novelists and affairs. As in a return to Peyton Place. The movie that picks up where Peyton Place left off. I've never seen Peyton Place, so let's assume it picks up where even the handyman leaves off. You laugh, but I think this is a normal marriage by 1960s standards. It seemed logical to do a movie sequel to Peyton Place, as the first film was one of the biggest hits of 1957, which gained 9 Oscar nominations, including for Best Picture. Why not to return?
All of the exciting characters of Peyton Place who held the world spellbound are back.
The actors aren't, though. As much as they tried to get the original cast back, many of them declined or pulled out, resulting in a movie that was still technically a hit. It made a good profit compared to its budget, but it didn't bring in near the amount of money as the first, and didn't really get any nods come award season either. There's still some soapy melodrama, though.
What you're afraid of is like mother, like daughter.
Talk about mommy dearest vibes. This is right up my alley. Hell, at one point, Joan Crawford was attached to be in it before also leaving. There is the great Tuesday Weld, though, a slight step up in budget from Sex Kittens Go to College and Private Lives of Adam and Eve. Makes me wonder if we'll be getting any Mamie Van Doren movies this year. Oh yes, there will be in September. Until then, though, we must say goodbye to Peyton Place, another town destroyed by Atlantis' death rays. Forget Beast of Yucca Flats, though. I think Mad Dog Cole has the best opening of any trailer this month. He's dead, Jim. Mad Dog Cole is another gangster biopic. This time, John Davis Chandler stars as Vincent Mad Dog Cole, an Irish-American hitman. You gotta see the movie to see it all put into motion, as a majority of the trailer is just a series of still shots. But the movie is almost the same universe of mobster movies we've been getting. Dutch Schultz is in it, but here played by Vincent Gardenia, not Vic Morrow. Mad Dog Cole was also played by Joseph Gallison in Portrait of a Mobster and by Richard Gardner in Rise and Fall of Legs Diamond. Though there's still noteworthy casting here, as it was the screen debuts of both Gene Hackman and Telly Savalas. And while the next movie, Angel Baby, sounds like it could be another gangster movie, it isn't. But it is another film debut movie, as it was the first movie role for Burt Reynolds. The film was made as a vehicle for George Hamilton, who after the success of 1960's Where the Boys Are, wanted to do a more serious role. And in this, he's an evangelist who prays for a mute woman's voice to come back. And then, yeah, long story short, he falls in love with her despite being married. And she has the eye of a mean bastard played by Reynolds. And she might have healing powers too. I think Where the Boys Are is probably the more realistic of the two. Even the next one's got more young people debauchery with the right approach. The lowdown on bachelor boys and their search for girls. My God, Otter, you're a genius. We pretend to have healing powers. Based on the play The Live Wire, about bachelors in the Hollywood Hills, it was originally envisioned as an Elvis movie before Elvis went into the army, so instead it stars Frankie Vaughan. I wish there were more clips of this. I want to see this line in action. I'll slap a paternity suit on you so fast you'll spin up and down like a yo-yo. Christ, that made me want to tie my dick like a yo-yo so nothing will come out. Will the next one be another debauchery film? It's called The Young Savages. What do you think? But these greasers are under the watchful eye of disapproving Burt Lancaster. Elmer Gantry's gonna get their sinful young asses to church, though it also has something in common with Mad Dog Cole, in that it also claims to be the film debut of Telly Savalas. Everyone please, there's enough Telly to go around! Directed by John Frankenheimer, it's also a legal drama where Lancaster is a DA investigating 3 teenagers accused of murder. It was a movie Lancaster was forced to do for United Artists, as he was obligated to be in 4 movies for them at a low price to make up for overruns due to his own production company. But he loved working with Frankenheimer so much the two did 4 movies together after. From the looks of this though, it seems like we got a big lavish production here. What kind of fairy tale epic are we gonna get with this one? Okay, cool. I wasn't expecting that, even though I should've. The poster is right there! Starring Olympic champion Carol Heiss as Snow White, this movie was the absolute biggest budget for a Three Stooges vehicle. Made after the boys had a big resurgence in the late 50s, which got them a multi-picture deal, with this one being the second in that line after Have Rocket Will Travel. Coleman Francis was the lesser Curly of the month. In the film, Snow White seeks shelter with the 7 dwarves, but they're gone as the Stooges are house-sitting for them. Sure, Curly Joe DeRita isn't the most popular of the Stooges, but it's an interesting one to see if you're a diehard fan of the Stooges like me, to see them in this real Hollywood epic where you can see the ambition put into every frame. Not in every frame though, the Stooges. They're barely in this trailer, just like they're really not in the movie that much, which is weird considering they're in the title. Despite really gorgeous filmmaking though, the movie was not a box office hit, which Mo would later call the movie a mistake, but the boys would still do a few more movies after this, like The Three Stooges Meet Hercules and The Three Stooges in Orbit. Plus they'd cameo in the comedy epic It's a Mad World. Maybe another problem here is that the trailer plays it confusingly straight, considering it seems like it should be a comedy. Whoop, I'm getting a call, and yes, there is a Robert Mitchum movie. The zany wartime comedy The Last Time I Saw Archie. Oh, well, I know when that was. Archie Bunker was in A Fever in the Blood. Now this isn't an exploitation film, but as a connoisseur of exploitation films, this movie blows my mind. So in the movie, Mitchum plays a shenanigansy private named Arch Hall Sr. That's not a coincidence. The movie is actually based on the Arch Hall Sr., the director of such exploitation flicks as Ega and the producer of Wild Guitar and The Sadist. The movie is a fictitious biopic, sorta, where Mitchum plays Arch Hall Sr., and it's directed by Jack Webb, too. So the answer to the title is that he was watching out for snakes. How this happened is that the movie's writer, William Bowers, knew Arch during the war, but the movie was made without Arch's permission, so Arch sued them and won. And I don't know if this settlement helped Arch make things like EGA, but I hope that's the case. See, should have gotten him to introduce the trailer like he did for The Sadist. It's okay, the next movie has a producer intro.
My name is David Susskind, and my business is producing entertainment for television and motion picture theaters.
Just tell me if the movie will have a caveman in it or not. The movie is A Raisin in the Sun, based on the Pulitzer Prize-winning play, or just let him tell you.
When you see this picture, you will live it. After you leave the theater, you will talk about it.
I don't know, I'm still talking about that tree birth from Eve and the Handyman. I've mentioned this before, but I do kind of miss trailers when the whole first third of it isn't clips and is just saying, don't you worry, we're telling you it's good, so go see it. And luckily for this one, it's damn good, and considered to be a classic in the filmography of Sidney Poitier. It's about a poor black family that comes into some insurance money, and after spending years struggling, finally attempts to improve their lives. After some dynamic acting, with drama so good, of course there's a slap! The movie was sadly ignored come Oscar season, but received rave reviews, and with the play considered one of the best ever written, that led to plenty of other adaptations too over the years. And stay tuned next to see if the same can be said about Gidget Goes Hawaiian.
They come from miles to enjoy our intermission.
Welcome back, and if you don't enjoy the pleasure of my company, perhaps you'll enjoy the company of Fred Astaire. That is the title, The Pleasure of His Company. The hell am I watching a movie or paying for a gigolo? I can explain, I swear. This dysfunctional family comedy was based on the play by Samuel A. Taylor and Cornella Otis Skinner, and was made during a time when Fred Astaire had retired, not from acting, but from dancing in movies or musicals themselves. The movie has to do with a woman about to get married, so she invites her father to the wedding, and hilarity ensues when things get a little rocky between he and his ex-wife and her new husband. Think of it as the ticket to paradise or that old feeling of its time. Just like Gidget Goes Hawaiian was obviously the Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian of its day. Didn't we learn everything about Gidget the first time? Must we go Hawaiian? It isn't just Gidget and Moondoggie here, there's new friends too. While James Darren returns from the first film, Sandra Dee couldn't get out of her Universal contract, so Gidget here is played by Deborah Wally. It was still successful enough that it led to a third film, 1963's Gidget Goes to Rome. These Gidget movies still seem kind of alike. I watched the trailer for the first film and thought it was the second one. I even took notes on it and had tons of material.
Hey, you really are sweet. Soft and sweet and lovely.
See, like who knew Gidget was in the Dirty Harry Sudden Impact universe? But the four preps are spared from my jokes this time. And the next film is also the story of a guy and a girl. Ooh, what else is on the boat? Is it a Gidget? Is that the name of a boat part? It's our first Roger Corman movie of the year, and...
Here's what happened. The general beat his friend Castro to the Cuban treasury.
You had Coleman Francis as your foreign policy expert, didn't you? In the film, a gangster wants to bump off his crew and blame the whole thing on a sea creature, but oops, the sea creature is real, or at least is another killer in a suit. Made in 5 days, back-to-back with 1960's The Last Woman on Earth, so it uses the same cast and crew, including Robert Towne under his Edward Wayne pseudonym again. It's your standard Cubans hunt gold, killers hunt Cubans, and the monster is the delightful centrist story. Though if you ask me, it looks like a Wilkins ad, where Wilkins has finally gone even crazier with not enough people drinking his coffee. The monster will be no match for Christopher Lee, though, in another Hammer film this year, this time in Taste of Fear. Renamed Scream of Fear in the States, probably for the marketing campaign. Holy shit, the movie invented sound waves! Alright, that's enough of that. Just show me the shots instead.
Caught by the camera at the split-second peak of screaming terror.
In the other image, she has unfortunate spinach stuck in her teeth. The movie had far better reviews than Terror of the Tongs, and was about a woman in a wheelchair, possibly haunted by her dead father, and Christopher Lee even regarded it as one of his favorites of his Hammer movies. In other words, there's a lot more to the movie than the screaming ad campaign. What? For maximum suspense, see the movie from the start? Wow, what an idea. Thrillers are better if you see the whole thing. While we're not getting a gruesome, violent Western classic like The Wild Bunch this year, we are still getting a deadly one, and also from director Sam Peckinpah. The Deadly Companions isn't just any Sam Peckinpah movie, but the first Sam Peckinpah movie. All thanks to the film's star, Brian Keith, who worked with Peckinpah on his television series The Westerners and recommended Peckinpah for the job of director. That being said, it's not exactly one of his most well-known, as some cast members have talked about his inexperience at the time, and even the director himself didn't exactly have his heart in it, given he wasn't able to do any rewrites or edit the film. It was after this experience he would only direct movies that he had greater control over. You mean Sam didn't suggest the poster that implies our heroes must save the scantily clad woman from being sucked into a water funnel by the sea creature? We've got more firsts with the next one too, as in the first starring role for the great Oliver Reed.
That was laid on a baby who grew into a man possessed by a monster.
This is just anti-Quasimodo propaganda produced by Frollo. This Hammer film, released on a double bill with Shadow of the Cat, was also the first werewolf movie to be shot in color. Alright people, come on, let's double our budget here, make the colors of these wolves pop, and make it sexy.
The night brought drinking and dancing, music and girls, and the moon.
Oh, that's nice, but I'm really at this tavern for the dancers. Oh shit, Oliver's had too much on set again. You know he gets a little intense when that happens.
Do you love me? Will you marry me, Christina? You say you love me, will you marry me?
What a romantic story to tell the kids. Look, you got me at Hammer movie where Oliver Reed goes batshit and turns into a werewolf. My full attention is here. The movie wasn't as successful as some of the other Hammer monster movies of the time, but is certainly a cult classic in its own right, and there would be little nods to it in later classics like Joe Dante's The Howling and John Landis's American Werewolf in London. And sure, if it's more wholesomeness you want, there is the Russian fairy tale-like classic of romance and life at sea called Scarlet Sails. But here in the States, we need hard-gripping, Kirk Douglas-like romance.
You have no right. I'm the only one who ever did have the right.
Oh, what didn't they lay their savage hands on in '61? Not to mention reaping the wild harvest. Ha! We're still talking about ranching, right? The Last Sunset starred Rock Hudson as a sheriff pursuing a fugitive played by Kirk Douglas, both of whom help out ranchers and fight over the ladies.
You might just as well forget you ever saw him, because I'm the man you're gonna marry.
I mean, I'm sure it could probably be an open marriage, provided it's legal and not questionable.
The teenage daughter feeling the first surge of a love that should never have been.
Kirk, you mind stepping over here for a second? It was made with the highest of ambitions, but neither the cast nor the crew had the best time making it. It was based on the novel by Howard Rigsby and had a few different titles during production. Dalton Trumbo worked on the script at first, but left to do Exodus, then when he came back, not much could be saved. It was one of those where if you read interviews with the director, Robert Aldrich, it sounds like a lot of people involved knew it wasn't working when they were shooting it.
You're lying. You're lying.
Or maybe I'm wrong. Jeez, Kirk, settle down! I'll stick with the comedy version, 1979's The Villain by Hal Needham, thank you very much. But oh shit, what is this? Elevator to the Gallows? That sounds dangerous, why would I get on that? With a title like that, is it a Corman movie? A Hammer movie? Close. It's a French new wave thriller directed by Louis Malle. Wait, that's not close at all. But let's just say it's one of the coolest movies of the year, at least here in the States. Many other countries got this in 1958, and it took 3 years for it to get its New York release in America. The movie was made even more impressive that Louis Malle knocked it out of the park so hard, with this being his first full-length film, and he was only 24 when he made it. It's also notable for its improvised score by Miles Davis, and let's just say it's the best murder thriller trapped in an elevator movie you'll see. There'd be more foreign films too that we'd eventually get here in the States in '61, such as the Japanese film The Ballad of Narayama, about a village which takes people to a mountain to die once they get old. It was released in its home country in '58, well before getting its June of '61 release in America. And while the next film, Romanoff and Juliet, may sound like another foreign film coming to the States, no, it's an American rom-com. These lips don't lie. Just like the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's a zanier version of Romeo and Juliet, of course!
Yes, this is the kiss that romantically defied the world.
Oh, what did it do? Put the United Nations in turmoil?
And put the United Nations into a turmoil.
What? I wasn't serious. The movie is a Cold War rom-com take on Shakespeare, where the feuding US and Soviet Union's bid to win a vote from a fictitious nation is put into a tizzy when the Soviet ambassador's son falls for the US ambassador's daughter. It was written, directed by, and starring Peter Ustinov, and I love how quirky they describe things.
Starring Peter Ustinov as the kooky Cupid who lit the fuse that started it all.
We may have Sandra Dee here, but I'm guessing she'll go away if Romanoff and Juliet decide to go Hawaiian. And there's Psycho's John Gavin as well.
And John Gavin as the Romeo named Romanoff.
Is he dead? As you can see, the movie is subtle.
I live there.
Like when Rocky's son banged Drago's daughter. They're handling this plot as if their kids are dating a member of the opposing high school football team.
She's the daughter of an ambassador.
Which ambassador?
Of the United States of America.
Oh my stars, think of your college scholarship. Your hearts will sigh, or something will sigh. You may even start shaking. Could be your head, could be laughter, or it could be a stroke. It's guaranteed to have a whomp 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 every 5 minutes. Hence this joke about a character's chemistry set.
Don't know where he is. I scolded him and sent him off to play with his home chemistry set.
Uh-oh, an explosion! Womp, womp, womp! That is too much zany for us snobby film critics, so I am going to the United Nations myself to demand more foreign flicks. Thank you. Seems foreign and uplifting. Yes, Henri Georges Clouzot's La Vérité. Oh wait, I pronounced that all wrong. It's Henry Georges Clouzot's La Vérité. Got it. He made Diabolique and The Wages of Fear. Hey, that was the Sharon Stone one, right? In the film, Brigitte Bardot is on trial for murder, of whom you may ask,
what is the whole truth about Dominique, the girl who lived for love?
Murdering the 4 preps with those killer dance moves. This 1960 French film got its US release in '61, where it was nominated for an Oscar for Best Foreign Language Film, and it had better be French.
This is a story told as only the French can tell it, without pretense or pretension.
That's why it comes in smell-o-vision, where it has the magnificent scent of cigarettes. See, you'd be in much safer hands in this courtroom if Kirk Douglas was your attorney. Doesn't matter if you did it or not. Logical explanation. Have you tried falling asleep with this racket? It is hailed as one of the great pictures of our time. Or else Bardot will pump you with 20 bullets. You'd better not go see Beast of Yucca Flats instead. And since we had a Western this year from the writer of Flaming Star, does that mean we'll get another Western starring Elvis himself? Of course that's what it means!
The wind blows wild.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Elvis sings? Yes, he sings songs of love while simultaneously sucking face. Impressive. He sings to Hope Lang, Tuesday Weld, just don't make it awkward.
At least that's what wise men all say.
Yes, sir, I just want to know if you need a refill on your coffee. Even poor Millie Perkins is like, for the love of God, just drive me home. I hate it when my Uber drivers are chatty. Look, do you really need to know a plot in this? The studio mandated that Elvis sing in it, so that's at least what half of the trailer is. The other half? What? Tense? What happened to the songs of love? And tempestuous? Now you're just making up shit. The plot itself is a dysfunctional family drama where a guy wants to pursue a career as a writer, which is weird considering the mandated songs make it look like he wants to be a musician. Or just killing time on a road trip.
Marching off to get married on a husky dusty day.
Just hurry up and shoot this before Maria and Tony get here to shoot West Side Story. Sadly, the movie didn't receive near the critical acclaim as Flaming Star, and was mainly known for the brief off-screen romance of Elvis and Tuesday Weld. But we got another gangster biopic here, though I don't see any connection to Legs Diamond or Dutch Schultz, so I don't know if I'll be able to follow. The film is called King of the Roaring Twenties, and was a biopic of New York mobster Arnold Rothstein, which was based on a book called The Big Bankroll, and even the movie itself was sometimes called that in an alternate title. Made off the heels of the studio's 1959 film Al Capone, which was a box office success, this film proved to be a bit more critically successful for star David Janssen than Dondi. It was probably for the best he didn't use Dondi as a Bart Simpson-esque bartender. There will be plenty more child shenanigans in the next film.
Who's she?
Oh my god, It Takes Two with the Olsen twins! My time flies. I didn't know I was that old. Oh, wait, slap me silly. This is The Parent Trap with Hayley Mills. Boy, is there cake on my face. Clearly, this is the one that was remade as the equally as classic Lindsay Lohan film, Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen. This is a quintessential dual-role film where Mills plays twin sisters who switch places to get their divorced parents back together.
There used to be a picture of her at Daddy's desk. What are you doing with her picture? It's my mother.
Is your mother a ghost? This proved to be a huge hit for Disney and was much more successful than the 1960 film Pollyanna, which also starred Mills and was directed by David Swift. And it was a more successful Disney film for Brian Keith as well, who starred in the underwhelming 60 film 10 Who Dared. Don't worry, you get all your classic Disney live-action staples here. Someone falls in the water, there's a potential evil stepmother, musical numbers, but there's no Dean Jones, so we'll just put Hayley Mills in there twice to make up for it. And yes, there will be non-theatrical sequels too. The next one, Two Loves, is confusing. Shirley MacLaine is back, but without the towel? She can explain. The poster says she's so busy with her children, she didn't have time to get married. I wonder if it'll end with her getting married. Too bad the movie wasn't a hit. It could have had a sequel where the married couple cheats on each other and can't keep her hands off Dean Martin. Do you think the movie is a terrible film that no one has heard of? Then you must be in agreement with MacLaine herself, who said that it was a terrible film no one has heard of. Even the director, Charles Walters, had better success in the previous year with Please Don't Eat the Daisies, but would also have another success a few years later with the unsinkable Molly Brown. While Hayley Mills was too busy trying to hook up Brian Keith and Maureen O'Hara, no one was keeping an eye on her real dad, John Mills, who in Flame in the Streets plays a character who gets himself involved in some old post-war racial tensions. Mills is a union leader who sticks up for the rights of black workers, but isn't too keen on his daughter's romance with an Indian fella. Why is he always on the line when I call customer service? Am I right, people? I said, am I right? Hello? Is this thing on? All of which leads to a giant brawl and a race riot in the climax. Can't remember if The Parent Trap ends the same way. Been a while since I've seen it. No clue if this will end with a race riot either. You behave yourself, Marseille, France. And another subject of love? Who's Elvis singing to now? Fanny, is it? What do the old dirty bastards say?
This is Fanny, and Fanny is something very special to all of us.
You keep away from me, I just got out of prison, damn it! The trailer is just these two French dudes drunkenly explaining the plot and characters.
Yeah, but what everybody doesn't know is that Fanny and her man live in Marseille, nah?
Thanks, French Bob and Doug McKenzie. Really, it had almost the opposite production of Wild in the Country. That was a movie that had the studio force songs into it. This is a movie directed by Joshua Logan, based on his stage musical, and it cut the songs out of it. Even despite that, though, the movie was a success with critics and audiences, and was nominated for a Best Picture Oscar. Still can't help but feel this trailer is the original YouTube movie review.
We all have something special for Fanny.
I've been going about this review all wrong. I just need to get drunk off 10 bottles of wine before describing what I see. Hey, this boy's in love with Fanny and must choose between her and a life at sea. The sea, motion sickness, I'm gonna throw up. Someone else take over.
Of all the love stories France has given to the world, this is the one to live in your memory.
That is, if you don't get blackout drunk when watching it. I know who's in this. It stars Connie Francis, Donny Osmond, Jack the Ripper, Keenan Wynn, Ethel Janowski. Everyone in this movie is horny.
Never too late for love!
Oh no, what is she gonna pleasure herself with now? Stay away from my hairbrushes. Filmed in surprised French man vision, you don't know what's gonna happen.
No!
Sorry, we lost the plot and need some coffee. Come see our movie Fanny. It'll make more sense when you start from the beginning. Not nominated for Best Picture though. Revolt of the Slaves? What? If something today had that title, it would be Oscar bait. This one is some Italian epixploitation about the day all Rome trembled. Move along, people. Tremble in an orderly fashion. And if you get a little carried away with the spears, we would appreciate the Colosseum audience remain in their seats. Make no sudden movements. Released in Italy in 1960, it got its US release in 61, so we too could witness the blood-soaked revolt.
Revolt which will spread a scarlet blanket of blood over all Rome.
But not too bloody now. We'll wash you off in the dirty waters to get all that blood off your clothes. It's just like Ben-Hur if the famous chariot race was a nice Sunday ride through the park. Witness the slight teasing to the death, stretching out Caesar's licorice ropes, relive all the glory days of Rome. Ah yes, the good old days. Hey, you over there, eat spear, bitch! Not revolting enough? Don't worry, the next film comes with a money-back guarantee. The downside? You have to go right into a theater showing Nude on the Moon. No one's a winner here. The plot itself of Homicidal is kind of a cash-in on Hitchcock's Psycho, but it's directed by William Castle, so you're really here for the gimmick. In the case of Homicidal, it was an interval that happened during the movie called the Fright Break, which comes in for viewers who were maybe too afraid to finish the movie. We'll let Castle explain it.
If homicide is your hobby, may I recommend a surgical knife?
Yes, that's great. The serial killer next to me in the theater is all ears. So basically, if you were too scared to finish the movie, you could get a full refund. But the catch is, no joke, you have to sit in what is called the coward's corner, where you'd remain for the rest of the movie. Then audience members who stayed would walk past you and point and laugh at your cowardly ass. Not very many people took that offer, though perhaps more would have taken the deal if it was during Beast of Yucca Flats. Not because it was scary, but because, god damn it, this is so bad. I'll do anything to get my money back and not watch the rest. This one, though, doesn't have the director explaining the movie to us. Instead, we're seeing the sets get built.
500 miles of wire. 100 tons of structural steel.
Wow, to think this will soon be used as Tiberius's grotto and a home for naked stilts man and stomach ass man in Caligula. Close enough. The Ladies' Man was the second directorial film for Jerry Lewis, who directed the 1960 comedy The Bellboy, and this time he's playing another servant, here to a ton of hot ladies. No, really, this is the movie his famous line, "Hey lady," comes from. And by lots of ladies, I mean 30 of them! Okay, something kind of horror movie here. Are they all robots? That's why he has to scream at them on the poster. Or woo them with his seductive breath after chewing a stick of Big Red. Look, doesn't matter to me. This is the far superior Ladies' Man, because it's not based on an SNL sketch. Clearly, this is a prequel to another film where the great imposter tries out all his future occupations, then takes a magic potion and becomes Tony Curtis. We couldn't get the 4 preps. The movie isn't nearly fratty enough, but still weird.
Yes, Jerry is the only man in this establishment where the females are more delicious than the food.
Great. Again, the serial killer next to me in the theater has perked right back up. Though uncredited, the script was worked on by Mel Brooks, who left the production after disagreements with Lewis, and the final version only featured a couple of Brooks' scenes. Like a lot of Jerry's best, though, it's a smorgasbord of great cinematography, physical comedy, and clearly waiting in the coward's corner for the other girls to finish homicidal. Wait till he goes to see The Naked Edge. It's written by Joseph Stefano, who wrote the script to Psycho. See, this one will cash in on some Psycho action too. Though it will upset the serial killer in the theater, who thought for sure it would be another nudist film. It also tries to have a gimmick on the poster too. No one will be seated during the last 13 minutes. Oh no, but think about all the people who buy tickets to only see the last 13 minutes of a movie. Sadly, it was the final film for its star Gary Cooper, who had cancer while making the film and passed away only 1 month before the movie's release. It also didn't have the best reviews either, nor was it a box office success. So it isn't one that gets brought up on lists of Cooper's finest films, but it is certainly one worth checking out, if anything to see the final bow of this screen legend, as sad as it might be to watch. The next one was a bigger hit. Look, the poster even says it's a hit! Though with a title like Question 7, I thought for sure it would be another ensemble western, this time about heroes who defeat the villains with trivia. Instead, this is an early Stuart Rosenberg directed film, and the 7 questions have to do with questions from the East German communist regime that are asked of those wanting to be accepted by a music conservatory. Look, there's nothing here for me to compare it to Psycho, which is what the June movies have started doing to me. And thank God, Goodbye Again features Anthony Perkins. And it's also about affairs and love triangles. We are in safe territory here. Just how familiar is this?
Picture of a young man in Paris.
Holy shit, are French Cheech and Chong here to explain the movie to us again? It was Perkins' first film after the enormous success of Psycho, and while it wasn't as successful as that here in the States, over in Europe it did very well. In it, Ingrid Bergman is a businesswoman who is in love with Yves Montand, but while Montand wants to bang other ladies and swoop them into his trunk himself, Perkins is in love with Bergman, and eventually she figures, why not, despite the controversy surrounding their age difference. Which, oh yeah, if there's one thing I've learned about early 60s movies, it's that sure, sometimes an age difference is controversial, sometimes, when it interrupts brunch.
I've been seeing Philip quite a lot.
This is gonna make me put down my cigarette, isn't it? The movie should be called Go For It, Ingrid.
The provocative story of 2 loves, a woman and a younger man.
And also, A Woman and a Blanket. We don't want you in a towel. We may get sued by a couple other movies. Between this and Fanny, why yes, I do want to have all-night wine-drunk sex.
Once you have been in love in Paris, you always come back. You just can't say goodbye.
On second thought, take me back to the airport. I can't concentrate on the lovemaking with that damn dog yapping in my ear. Well, that was a lot of movies in June, and also one of the horniest months too. But don't worry, in July there's far less movies, although one of them is called erotica. Oh, pour me another glass of wine!
And now, it's showtime.
July is here, and with that we have The Armored Command! A title like that sounds like it should be a canon film starring Chuck Norris in one of my 80s videos. However, this one is another early film featuring Burt Reynolds, in which Burt would joke that his first 2 movie roles had him playing a rapist, so he was worried about being typecast. The movie is a Howard Keel vehicle, who is mainly known for being a musical actor, with this being one of his roles where he doesn't sing, and the plot has to do with an army unit that's trapped in a village where there could be a German spy. Like with the Arch Hall Sr. sorta bio, this one also spawned a lawsuit, this time by a major general who alleged that Allied artists stole his idea from a recorded pitch that he sent to the studio. No word on if the real Francis of Assisi sued over the next film. Yeah, what? Okay, I guess we're getting some text backstory again. Just tell me how this is gonna tie into the Three Stooges, or something else.
This is a story of love. Love that surpasses the sensual.
Elvis is gonna sing the creation of Catholicism, isn't he? This religious epic stars Bradford Dillman as St. Francis of Assisi, a Catholic friar and founder of the Franciscans.
He has laughed, lifted his voice in song, pleasured away the night.
And again, he may also be the king of rock and roll. Not to mention a Charlton Heston-like hero. Guys, we're a little huddled here. Let's say we take this battle out into the fields and off the bridge. Then he witnesses the sight of God and finds his true calling as Saint Joseph Fiennes. If there can be a Legs Diamond universe, there could also be a Story of Ruth universe, as Stuart Whitman is in this religious epic as well. It's a film with a ton of extras and animals.
The faithful few who followed. The small creatures who rejoiced.
Yes, Saint Affleck is even here to give his grace. It's really a love story too, though I don't know if it'll work out. Actress Dolores Hart really did become a Roman Catholic Benedictine nun in real life. This movie seems cheerful.
It sings with human hope and gladness, joy and beauty.
So let's end on a shot with no one singing or seeming joyful or happy. The movie was a box office disappointment. A much bigger success was Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea from Irwin Allen. Why was it so successful?
Come with me.
Because it keeps in the singing, obviously. Witness the glory of the Seaview submarine, our only hope against the Van Allen radiation belt. Is it fact or fiction? We'll know it's a fact if Gorgo shows up. Oh, I read about this in history books.
You are there when the entire sky catches on fire.
Why are you saying that like it's a good thing? I'd shit my pants if I witnessed that. Just tell me how this is all being caused by the master of the world, Vincent Price. Wait, this is better than Jules Verne.
Not even the soaring imagination of a Jules Verne could have dreamed of such a fantastic adventure.
Yeah, eat shit, Jules, lazy ass. Such a great spectacle of special effects, sets, and gorgeous cinematography that made it a big enough success it even spawned the television series I Dream of Submarines. Wait, the TV series of the same name that ran from 64 to 68. And I think I know who sings the theme song. Robert Sterling, of course! It's like I am there!
You are there when the United Nations is thrown into a turmoil.
Great, look at what Romanoff and Juliet did now. They caused the Earth to be destroyed with a radiation belt. Sigmund Freud is having none of this chaos. Gotta love any movie that promises you giant squids and ass.
When the frogmen battle a mammoth squid. You are there.
Yes, the Earth was saved once more by Barbara Eden shaking that ass. But anyway, while you were looking at 60s twerking, Earth is consumed by fire. I think we're all screwed. This great 60s adventure is so inspiring. The movie and series were almost Star Trek before Star Trek, but underwater. Despite that this is all clearly factual, perhaps the most realistic is the documentary The Exiles from Kent McKenzie, which chronicles a day in the life of some Native Americans who left the reservation for LA, where it's like this time capsule odyssey through the LA scene and nightlife, where it depicts hopelessness, drinking, gambling, and socializing with a realism unlike anything you'd see on film at the time. See, you should have had the luck of Lucky Pierre. Yep, it's another nudie cutie movie. He's so lucky, he just happens upon nudity no matter where he goes. This is an early film for Herschel Gordon Lewis, under the pseudonym Lewis H. Gordon. Okay, don't know who you are. And if he doesn't happen upon the naked ladies, he'll seek them out himself. Whoa, zany! Come here, I said come here, you! We're gonna pose for this Screwballs poster. I'll sell this off in about 20 years. Seriously, these July of '61 movies need Lucky Pierre. The next one is called The Big Gamble. It's a Richard Fleischer movie about an unlucky Irishman who wants to go to Africa to start a business, yet hits a ton of bad luck on the way, like pirates and diseases. See, this trip would have gone off without a hitch if you had Lucky Pierre there to offer the sea gods the gift of nudity and women changing clothes. Forget that, By Love Possessed is pushing The Big Gamble and Lucky Pierre out of the way to say, look at me, I'm important, damn it!
One of the most important and distinguished of all bestsellers.
Never heard of it. The film stars Lana Turner and Jason Robards Jr., where it sounds like the trailer narrator almost forgot to add the Jr. in his name.
And Jason Robards Jr.
Or maybe he just has a weird way of saying names with Jr.
Ephraim Zimbalist Jr.
Okay, thanks AI voice. It's advertised as a sensational, provocative love story for our time. So yep, it's all about affairs taking place within a law firm. Not to mention young love, too.
Susan Kohner and George Hamilton bring a new dimension to the meaning of young love.
I'm gonna take a nap. Just do with me what you will, whatever. It would be something if all of these affair movies were interrupted by The Ghost from Spirit's Revenge, that movie about a demon that haunts adulterers. It's a ghost with needs.
It answers the need in the heart of every woman.
I want corn dogs.
Bears hidden depths within every man.
I want a toupee. It's the bestseller that sent a fever through America, and the only prescription? A movie that's most notable today as being the first movie to be shown on regular rotation as an in-flight movie. Perfect viewing for every husband taking a business trip to cheat on his wife. Don't worry, maybe you can fly cheap, and I mean really cheap, where they can show you erotica. They're running out of titles for these nudie movies. But hey, Herschel had one this month, so Russ Meyer's gotta have one too. What's there to say? It's a bunch of vignettes where women take their clothes off and people watch them. The most hilarious thing about it is the poster where, hey, come here! Herschel's making his attempt at a Screwballs poster, and we're going to as well, only caveman themed. It's okay, it's made by adults for adults. Well, I should freaking hope so. Why would the opposite be true? And after the success of The Parrot Trap, we must go to another Haley Mills film of 1961.
Manhunt.
What did those twins do now? Someone got tired of hearing them sing Let's Get Together. Whistle Down the Wind is a crime thriller where three kids happen upon a fugitive who they mistake for Jesus. Happens to the best of us. While certainly known for her Disney films, Haley Mills was in some pretty great British thrillers too. Between this and Twisted Nerve, there are two movies you should definitely check out. The movie was even based on a novel by Mills's mom, Mary Haley Bell. It was truly this crime spree that led M to found Her Majesty's Secret Service to protect the world from criminal masterminds, using children?
Where the hell are they coming from? I've no idea.
Great, they tore down the walls from the Village of the Damned. Let's start over and rebuild. While Anthony Perkins may be shacking up in France, Psycho's John Gavin, on the other hand, is going the more wholesome romantic route with Sandra Dee in Tammy Tell Me True, based on the Tammy book series from author Sid Ricketts Sumner, where here, riverboat girl Tammy goes to a local college where she falls for a handsome teacher, Professor Tom Freeman, played by Gavin. Did I say wholesome love story? I meant 60s wholesome. Kind of the opposite of Gidget, where the first one had Sandra Dee and the second one didn't, whereas here, this is the second Tammy movie, where in the first one it was Debbie Reynolds, and now Sandra Dee takes over, and she'd be in the third film as well, Tammy and the Doctor. Sadly, she never goes Hawaiian. Or to the Old West, where we got Jimmy Stewart in the next film.
Stage is leaving in about 15 minutes.
Now look here, Marshal, whatever your name is.
Name's McCabe.
Oh crap, I've been calling him Mr. Smith this whole time. This is Two Rode Together, the first of 4 collaborations between James Stewart and director John Ford, and oddly, this is maybe the least known of the 4, especially compared to their 1962 collaboration, the classic The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. This particular one, John Ford openly said he only did it simply because he needed the money, as he hated the material and felt that he covered the same ground far better in The Searchers. He and Stewart also didn't get along on set, as Ford made no secret to the cast and crew that he didn't want to be there, though it was also said the two still had a deal of respect for each other. It's another case where it would have been far more successful if it had the magical pervy touch of Lucky Pierre. Coming up next, it's a movie called Come September, in August! Welcome to August, here's Come September, a rom-com with Rock Hudson, who is clearly all about shacking up with the ladies. Pfft, beats me. The jokes don't write themselves here. Please, continue.
Problem. How can Rock Hudson make love to Gina Lollobrigida, his house guest?
Definitely not with booze. This screwball comedy set in an Italian villa was a bigger success for Rock this year than The Last Sunset, where if he's not getting laid, no one is getting laid.
Problem. How can Bobby Darin make love to Sandra Dee under the disapproving eye of Rock Hudson?
Either you write a hit song for this movie or I'm kicking you off this island. It's a young folks versus the squares movie where the twist is everyone's the square. And it's another movie featuring Sandra Dee, because every other movie in '61 was saying, "Look at me, I'm Sandra Dee." Just like every other movie in '61 could be called The Frightened City. Whether they're running from monsters or mobsters, we're all fleeing for our lives. In this case, mobsters. It's a British gangster flick where Sean Connery is an up-and-coming gangster who gets in good with the mob. Only, you know, gotta sleep with the boss's femme fatale girlfriend. Because even before James Bond, Connery was still totally Bond. Just like even before the Pink Panther, Herbert Lom was always tired of our hero's shit. Wait, what's this? Is this that Christian Bale Poe movie that's out now? Or that John Cusack Poe movie that's kinda got the same type of plot? No, of course it's the second of the Roger Corman Edgar Allan Poe adaptations, this time The Pit and the Pendulum. Which also means if it's a Poe adaptation, it's gonna be the better reviewed Corman movie of the year. Yes, it is the far superior movie over Creature from the Haunted Sea. And even better that this one has Vincent Price in it.
Starring Vincent Price.
Clearly stealing some of the laughing gas from Little Shop. While it takes a lot of liberties from the story, this one about a man investigating his sister's death, which could have something to do with a Spanish inquisitor. The film was made after the enormous success of 1960's House of Usher, and this one proved to do even better at the box office and even better critically as well. Over the years, it would be a very influential film that is credited with inspiring the look and feel of several notable Italian thrillers, such as Deep Red, A Blade in the Dark, Castle of Blood, The Whip and the Body, and plenty of others. Needless to say, it has some of the more striking images and bloody horror at the time, too. Not quite as influential was the war film Marines Let's Go, another movie mainly just known for its backstory. The director of the film, Raoul Walsh, was considered to direct the 1963 film PT-109 about President Kennedy's time in the Navy. The studio sent Kennedy a print of Marines Let's Go, but he hated it, so they had to get another director for the other film. See, should have gone with the director of Private Property. That was the better film that Kennedy didn't like. Should have gotten friskier and zanier, like in The Honeymoon Machine. Yeah, whoa, we're gonna break this couch. Oh, this is so wacky. In all seriousness, let's find out just what is The Honeymoon Machine. Oh, well, clearly it's a dick. A dick that is not for massive retaliation, but sound effects.
Love is crazy. Love is crazy.
I do believe that Steve McQueen's penis is mighty enough to make cartoon sounds and music. And looks like someone didn't get the memo that monogamy doesn't exist in 61. Whoa, get me out of here! Take me back to the war! It is unique seeing Steve McQueen go full screwball comedy. It's like the Thomas Crown Affair set in the Cash McCall universe.
It's bright new star Bridget Baslin.
You know, if one could come without a sound box. The plot is about a scheme to use a Navy computer in order to predict when roulette wheels will stop spinning so they can win big. They even have Jack Weston without eliciting the help of Johnny Five. And remember Where the Boys Are? That was a movie.
Remember Jim Hutton and Paula Prentice in Where the Boys Are? They're together again.
What the hell? You're not Reagan! It's got Steve McQueen, an attempt to knock off a casino, but maybe it would have been too obvious to call it Ocean's 7. They didn't even have to get a computer to knock off the roulette wheel. Just wait until the inevitable comedy movie brawl and steal the money then. Perhaps we can get away from the zany penises with the next film.
Seaman William Stanton.
Yoo-hoo-hoo! Wait till you hear the plot of the shipwrecked B-movie Pagan Island.
He finds to his amazement it is inhabited only by beautiful native girls.
Oh no, the horror. They'll give him a makeover in his sleep. Think of all the sin in this film.
Watch these girls dance and make unashamed love in this tropical paradise.
Sorry, but I only go to these movies because I want to feel shame. It's like the island of Dr. Moreau if they couldn't afford costumes and said, just make the broads dance. Plus, it's the world's most awkward sex ed video.
That's called a kiss.
Now show her a hot Carl. And to think you thought Neil LaBute's The Wicker Man was a remake of The Wicker Man. No, it was a remake of Pagan Island. And it could be other things too.
And are sacrificed to an all-powerful sea god. All fear forgotten, they jump into his golden temple under the lagoon.
Okay, is this a trailer narrator, or am I listening to a pitch where the writer is just making up shit to the investor? Now we can chalk this up to another place Captain Kirk would have loved to have visited. I'm gonna need something a little bigger budgeted, though. It better. You're over 60 years late! Hello, did you know there was a 60s version of the talented Mr. Ripley? Matt Damon was so talented, he impersonated a 60s film. Well, just wait till you hear about the John Malkovich sequel. In this French-Italian film, Alain Delon stars as Tom Ripley. The film got its original release in '60, with the US release being '61, where it was more commonly called Purple Noon, still with great scenery.
A friendship whose ingredients are jealousy, amusement, and hatred.
In other words, another screwball comedy. Or something else I'm thinking of.
Two men and a girl are to become the protagonists of the strangest drama.
Clearly taking cues from the Roger Corman version, The Last Woman on Earth, obviously. Hey, it's a 4-minute trailer, so you know what that means. We more or less gotta show you the whole movie. People would go to great lengths back then to avoid spoilers. No, don't show me anything! But also, like the '99 version, critics were won over by this film too. At least the French critics.
The French critics are unanimous.
Yes, it's the best movie we've seen since The Ladies' Man. We needed this in '61. It shows the real-world consequences of being a great imposter when you don't have the comedy stylings of Tony Curtis. And The Young Doctors is also something you shouldn't get confused with a program of the same title. Wonder if that Young Doctors is from the '70s. And Paula Prentice can get both her glasses and her hearing aid because she's in luck. Ronald Reagan narrated this film, which is an ensemble melodrama about the staff of a New York hospital and was based on the 1959 book The Final Diagnosis. I wonder if the narration is just simply playing Reagan's socialized medicine album over the movie. When I hear a plot like this, I just assume it's a primetime medical drama from the 70s or 80s. For as the poster says, what these men know about life, what their women discover about love, set them apart from the others. It's their paychecks. We'll take this right to the governor's office. Hi, Governor Gillis. I voted for Governor Reagan's narration. Ada stars Susan Hayward and Dean Martin, and you can tell it's a more dramatic film for Dean compared to his string of comedies before it. Look, it shows a book. I told you it was more dramatic. He's still got that Dino touch though.
I never thought I'd be a lady, let alone a first lady.
The touch of Dino will do that to you. In Ada, Martin plays a governor who is run by a corrupt campaign manager and whose wife may have a secret in her past.
Don't you want to say please? Pretty please?
And that secret not taking shit from you yokels. Also, she's a former prostitute.
I'm sure you'll have our very best efforts, Mrs. Gillis.
That or you're high.
Yeah, I have the receipts. I know which of you likes to be peed on. Sadly, the movie was a box office disappointment, even though he clearly got the Elvis vote, no matter the cost.
A good guy who learned politics the hard way.
Do I have to look at your hairy ass as we take a steam? Still, I love me a good melodrama, and it's got arm-grabbing acting, courtroom speeches, and rabble. Plus another Psycho connection. That is so 1960. Come see how Ada and Beau won in a landslide due to her bath towel seduction, of course. We're still getting a little lazier with the titles here. First there was Erotica, and now Victim. Oh wait, this 1961 British film didn't come to the States till 62. You wait your turn, movie. And when we come back, we'll take a look at a handful of exploitation films that also got their releases in other countries in 61 before making their way to the States.
How about some pizza?
Oh, with cheese and anchovies.
Ooh, pepperoni.
In 1960, we had a lot of fun with the Mamie Van Doren movies, as in she had the absolute best trailers of the year and was the clear winner of all movies in 1960. The good news is that she does have a movie in 1961, a film from Argentina called The Blonde from Buenos Aires, aka An American in Buenos Aires. The bad news, it is incredibly hard to find any kind of footage from the film. And sadly, she'd take a 3-year break from movies before coming back in 1964 with The Candidate. I'm sure we can talk about some other teen debauchery movies or exploitation flicks that would come out in their home countries in 61, but would come to the States in later years. In 1963, we'd finally get So Evil, So Young, Werewolf in a Girl's Dormitory. Hey, that sounds familiar. Then in 63, there'd be Naked as Nature Intended that got a re-edited version released that year, plus the early Nazi-sploitation movie Ordered to Love, and The Hellfire Club. Ooh, will there be shirts made of that one? And in 64, we'd get The Naked Witch and Juventud a la Inemperi. I'll need a few years to learn if I pronounced that right. What we do have in September of 61, though, isn't necessarily a teen debauchery film, but A Taste of Honey is about a pregnant teenager.
You can get rid of babies before they're born, you know.
Yes, I know, but I think that's terrible.
Right? If we did that, it'd be a short movie. Though the poster suggests she goes missing, and here is her police sketch. This British dramedy was based on the hit play from 1958, and is part of a British genre known as kitchen sink realism, which typically has to do with young, disillusioned characters living in poorer areas, and these plays, movies, or books would tackle a lot of grittier social issues at the time. Though less known for its gritty British realism is the American film Claudel English, the movie about a Georgia farm girl who, as you can tell by the poster, would rather bang the whole town than have her parents arrange the marriage of her and an old rich man. Will she see the error of her harlot ways?
If you keep this up, the one person you must surely hurt, the one person you must surely destroy is yourself.
Not to mention, think of what this is doing to Jesus. Her parents don't understand. She's about to become the most popular girl in town.
Claudel? Be right with you.
See, she gets her clothes in the nice ass discount. See what I mean? When it's about the ladies sleeping around, the movie's more serious than a frickin' war film. Look at the poster for Man Trap. Too many men, too many thrills, too much violence. And the movie isn't even about sleeping around. It's a film about a heist where a Korean War veteran joins his military buddy to steal millions from a Central American dictator at an airport. And I already made a man-trap Star Trek reference earlier, but wait, this time it's with Jeffrey Hunter? What if Captain Pike was in the Man-Trap episode? If only he was in this Mamie Van Doren movie, it could have been his way to Eden. But okay, we're hitting a slump here, but I sense the magic touch of Lucky Pierre caressing my shoulders to bring good fortune to the next film. The story of Fast Eddie Felson was a little quieter when it didn't have rockin' tunes like It's in the Way That You Use It and Werewolves of London, but with significantly more jazzy pool club artwork. Whoops, someone owes some extra money to the movie investors. The Hustler is a Paul Newman classic where he plays pool hustler Fast Eddie, hoping to face off against the great Minnesota Fats, played by Jackie Gleason.
Do you think this boy is a hustler?
No one bootlegs Coors beer in this billiards hall without his say-so. The film was nominated for Best Picture and Best Actor for Paul Newman, which he wouldn't win for this one, but would win 25 years later in Martin Scorsese's sequel, The Color of Money. This is a movie with fast money and fast talking.
Let that glory whistle ring out loud and clear for Eddie, and you're a wreck on a railroad track. Your horse had finished last. Now don't make trouble, Miss Ladybug.
I don't know what that means, but I know it's cool as hell. Let's get that jazz riff in here again.
I'm gonna come back here and I'm gonna kill you.
Why does it never sound as cool when I do that? So help me, Bert, I'll kill you! See, my sound box is way off. The movie was such a hit, it would inspire other hustler-type films of the 60s, most notably the 1965 Steve McQueen poker film, The Cincinnati Kid. I think the next movie may have inspired some movies later on down the road, too. Oh my god, it's the classic Fistful of Last Man Standing! Whoops, this is the original. Akira Kurosawa's Yojimbo, starring Toshiro Mifune, as a ronin named Sanjuro, who enters a small town ran by two competing crime bosses who want to hire him as an enforcer, which leads to Sanjuro manipulating and putting the two gangs against each other. This worldwide sensation has a plot that could be so easily adaptable to other settings that, like with The Seven Samurai, it became one of the most influential samurai films of all time, and lent itself to its own sequel, and Sergio Leone's spaghetti western version, a gangster version, even a fantasy version. And you can see a bit of inspiration in everything from Star Wars to Belushi's samurai character on Saturday Night Live. With all that said, it's still just a badass film in its own right, with a cool-as-hell hero, memorable cackling villains, and a very absorbing bleakness to its filmmaking. Also influential. See, what if Jessica Fletcher merely spoke of the murders instead of writing that shit down? In this Agatha Christie adaptation, Margaret Rutherford is Miss Marple, who is having a time on the train.
Now you saw that, didn't you?
You talking to me or George Caldwell? This was the first of 4 Miss Marple adaptations, featuring Rutherford in the title role, here trying to convince everyone she saw a murder.
Young man, I was not dreaming. I saw it. Ask them.
Stop bringing me into this shit! It's one step closer to asking me if I like carrots! With it being 61, this quirky, old-fashioned Agatha Christie mystery is still advertised like a frickin' snuff film. Why is the murderous poster sexy? Especially when the trailer is telling me it's hilarious.
Only Agatha Christie can mix murder and mirth with such hilarious abandon.
Well, that is until Tim Curry makes it more hilarious. Though this one has intimacy.
To meet Arthur Kennedy, Muriel Pavlo is to know a bestseller thriller with real-life intimacy.
So let's bang, I guess? Who on earth could the murderer be? Perhaps we can pull the clues from this man's ass. And I don't trust Miss Marple. She keeps talking to people who aren't there.
We'll just have to go and solve this crime ourselves.
Sorry, but I got a date with a thunderous drum solo. On second thought, this is already giving me a piercing headache. Maybe I would rather solve a murder on a train after all. This film is about a captain and a young lieutenant at a cavalry outpost and...
of men and women who suited their actions to the wild era in which they lived.
A war is probably gonna get started over abroad, of course. It isn't just showing me one book, it's showing me several. Did you read all of these in the bathroom? Then come see our film! It features Richard Boone as the captain, and also George Hamilton took on the younger part in a continued effort to not be typecast, as he chose a lot of his post-where-the-boys-are roles with that mindset too. Though it's still a role for the ladies!
It's an eye-opener to a girl when she finds that her body can trap her decency.
Damn, your decency is being hidden under those luscious cans. Got any other notable cast members?
It's Music Man Dwayne Eddy in his first movie role.
Sorry, but Wild in the Country already told us that we defeated our wartime enemies through sweet rockabilly tunes. And wait, Charles Bronson? Fists are gonna fly.
Why, you...
I don't know if I entirely believe that George Hamilton would beat Charles Bronson in a fist fight. The movie wasn't a hit, but perhaps Dwayne Eddy would have better luck in something else that reminds us of the Magnificent Seven. He was in a '68 movie called The Savage Seven. After the success of The Hustler, we are doubling our money on Paul Newman and a jazzy score, and that movie is Paris Blues.
Some motion pictures move you deeply, others not at all.
Are you saying you weren't moved by the heroism of our astronauts in Nude on the Moon?
Some pictures you love, some you hate.
Hey, no need to bring Beast of Yucca Flats into this, we're just trying to have a good time here.
Here is one which is bound to catch you up in its different kind of love story.
That technically didn't tell me if the movie would move me or if I would love it. Paris Blues is about two jazz musicians in Paris who strike up a romance with two female tourists, plus there's wacky side characters.
Come to Paris, the city that was made for love, and meet its young lovers.
Excuse me, I just witnessed a murder on a train. Though it is promising me Newman could blow up a storm with himself in the middle of it. Ooh, graphic. I figured it'd be one of the nudie movies about blowing yourself. It's another reteaming for both Newman and Joanne Woodward, but it's also great seeing him in a movie with Sidney Poitier. And even though the movie does deal with race relations in Paris versus America, the book, however, had Eddie in an interracial relationship. But 1961 is still pretty 1961. We'll save that for 67. Plus, it's got Louis Armstrong. Dwayne Eddy couldn't fit his thunder of drums on the airplane. Someone is gonna climax when watching this, and that someone is probably Damien Chazelle. Coming up next, we've got the Academy Award-winning movie for Best Picture, and it's one of the posters behind me.
Superdog and your favorite cold beverage in a Texas-sized schooner. Get them now at our concession stand.
We're back and getting close to Oscar season because it's the most important story of the year. The story of Craig Golightly's mother, Holly. Oh, look at you all fancy. I'm having breakfast at Hardee's because their sausage biscuit with cheese still kicks ass. The trailer isn't gonna talk to me again, is it?
Won't you join me?
Ugh, I'm not gonna have to solve a murder on a train, am I? This classic film was directed by Blake Edwards, based on the popular book by...
Kicking over the traces and bringing to life Truman Capote's Breakfast at Tiffany's.
I hear Truman Capote also had something to do with it. It's the story of a cafe society girl who navigates through New York and falls for George Peppard, even if they got nothing in common and no common ground to start from. Anyway, I think I remember the film, and as I recall, I think we both kind of liked it, and I said, well, that's the one thing we got. This was an A-list star-making vehicle for Audrey Hepburn, which was both a critical and financial success, getting 5 Oscar nominations and winning 2. A movie of true love in the 60s.
People don't belong to people.
Of course they do.
I'm not gonna let anyone put me in a cage.
I don't want to put you in a cage.
But still, the cage isn't out of the question, right? Look, we can even dress up as animals, just so long as we incorporate a cage somehow. It's truly an iconic film, especially for being a huge influence on fashion at the time. But I mean, it's not a perfect film by any means. I love that it was the Audrey Hepburn casting that Capote had a problem with. Hey, Christopher Lee's Terror of the Tongs casting is downright dignified by comparison. This is still worth watching, since Audrey Hepburn is the one you always wanted to do it with. What about the people who wanted to bang the Hardy star? And what of those who prefer the company of Natalie Wood?
This is Natalie Wood. Maybe you don't recognize her.
Well, maybe not today. She seems to have a little bit of a headache. Anyway, Splendor in the Grass is a gas, baby. Can you dig it? Just cause it's another Oscar film doesn't mean the trailer guy isn't still doing stuff like this.
This is Warren Beatty. He starred on Broadway.
Damn, he looks just like Warren Beatty. It's his film debut too, and what a movie to debut in. It's another critic and audience hit, and it also won the Oscar for Best Screenplay in this story of two high school sweethearts in Kansas.
It starts out like this. Whether you live in a Kansas town the way they do, or in a city, or anywhere.
Doesn't matter where you are, you'll probably hook up with Warren Beatty. This trailer guy is calm about everything that happens here.
Suddenly it's wide-eyed, scary, dangerous.
Come for the frolicking teens. Stay for a glimpse into the mind of Lucky Pierre. The trailer needs to be 4 minutes so we can see all of their tickle fights.
The prettiest girl and the handsomest boy in the high school class. This is their love story.
You don't think they know I'm 24, right? Also, it's the story of everyone trying to keep these two apart.
You and Bud haven't gone too far already, have you?
It's about the tickle fighting, isn't it? Could be worse, he could be talking her into robbing banks with him. Still, the parents would prefer she settle down with that nice Cash McCall boy. I'm starting to learn that 1961 considers just about anything love.
This is a story about the many aspects of love, about love fulfilled and love denied, and about love's desperate alternatives.
And also alcoholism. And it's the story of the love cannibals have for feasting on young girl meat. Boy, have I ever lived this story. Maybe someday we can start using tongue. And hey, if it doesn't speak to you, there's always the 1981 TV remake. Not nominated for Oscars though, it's the 1961 version of Franny Hearst's novel Backstreet, which Universal had adapted 2 times before this one, in 1932 and in 1941, with this one taking the most liberties with the story, for instance, setting it in modern times. It was important we got a new version of Backstreet in 61. The plot, Susan Hayward meets John Gavin and they fall in love. But there's a catch, he's married and has kids. Really, it's most notable considering his wife is played by Vera Miles. It's the alternate universe if Sam Loomis married Lila Crane in Psycho, and it didn't work out. I've got my ibuprofen ready though. I have the feeling the next film will get loud again. It's got explosive in the title. Do you mind? I just kicked out the thunder of drums. Even Natalie has a headache again. This party is loaded with booze and, yes, debauchery.
What will your mother say? Well, I'll tell her I'm spending the night with you. And what do I do?
Teen drama or educational short on MST3K. And why isn't Mamie Van Doren in this? The movie is about what happens when teens want to know about sex, and the teacher assigned to the case, that's the best part, William frickin' Shatner himself. He'll teach these 30-year-olds how to bang on any planet.
I want you to kiss me.
And do it with the pegging style from Splendor in the Grass. This teacher is gonna be in 60s trouble.
Groping for love in an adult world that tells them they're too young.
We rolled around underneath a towel and now I'm pregnant. It's also about the controversy that surrounds this teacher when students are smooching all over this town. It gets serious.
There's something I've got to say.
Oh, that's nothing. If it were today, they'd post the teacher and school's address on social media, because they'd rather have the Shatner character from The Intruder teaching their kids. It's an important film made to put a spotlight on the discussion between teens and parents about sex, in which the trailer recommends that teens and parents see the film together. I don't know about that. It was awkward enough when me and the folks watched Larry Clark's Kids together. Really, these kids need them some Jesus, where they can get that nice Captain Pike fella in here instead to teach them of our Heavenly Father and King of Kings. Truly the most exciting drama ever filmed, at least compared to the low-budget epixploitation. We'll spotlight more of those later on. But before then, we've hidden a Jesus somewhere in this picture. Sure, there'd been Jesus epics before this, but were they as handsome as Jeffrey Hunter Christ?
Behold the power and beauty of his spoken words.
Are we gonna hear any of these spoken words?
It's from within, baby, from your soul. Can you dig what I'm laying on you, baby?
He sounds a little more baked than I thought he would. Of course the movie was a big hit, just call it a spin-off of Ben-Hur, where it's about that nice man who kept helping out Heston. It's got all the biblical characters you know and love.
For the role of the gentle and inspired Mary, the noted Irish actress Siobhan McKenna was engaged.
She definitely brought out the Virgin Mary's Irish heritage.
Vivica Lindfors is Claudia, Pilate's disillusioned wife.
There he goes, trying to poison me for my family's money again. Where there's a sexy Christ, there's gotta be a sexy Mary Magdalene.
The fallen who found forgiveness is Carmen Sevilla, First Lady of the Spanish screen.
What Messiah wouldn't bow down to her beauty and say, screw all this crucifixion talk? We've also got Bridget Brazen as Empress Elizabeth Taylor, Harry Gardino as Lieutenant Barabbas, and the best piece of casting, Rip Torn plays Judas. Should have seen his betrayal coming. That's the best bit of Judas casting next to Harvey Keitel. This trailer feels like it's just advertising the casting agency.
Most difficult was the choice of the actor for the characterization of Jesus.
All these Middle Eastern actors kept showing up.
Young American actor was chosen because of his rugged strength, personal integrity.
And those dreamy Christ-like eyes. Take me now, Lord. But come see the movie. It's got sets and costumes, unlike all those other epics.
More than 396 sets were designed and built.
So did Caligula, and that movie blessed us with a stomach-ass man. Still, it's strange we don't hear Christ talk until the end.
Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth.
Blessed are the meek, for they'll inherit the earth. Also, I think Christ fights Gorgo at the end. I'm not sure. And if you like the movie, now you can take home the video game. Hopefully everyone accepts the love of Christ before tempting fate.
Oh, Susanna, oh, don't you cry for me.
Alright, one more song and I'm driving us off the road. It's another love story, yes, based on a book. However, it's also a Reader's Digest feature. And it's a true story, too. Bridge to the Sun is a biopic starring Carol Baker, who plays Gwen Terasaki, who is married to Hidenari Terasaki, who was a Japanese diplomat during World War II, and first secretary of the Japanese embassy in D.C. Plus, he would later turn successful businessman and founder of the Nakatomi Corporation. The movie deals with controversy with their government and their family.
Rest isn't easy for a man who's trying to hold two countries together with his bare hands.
But we make it work on the dance floor and on the golf course, until... Someone's getting carried away installing the sand traps on course 9. There's plenty of love stories, but this one changed history, just like when Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez invented fusing your names together like Benifer. And if Good Housekeeping liked it, I'm in! They didn't steer me wrong on my vacuum cleaner. Still, I only swoon when I know there's some good towelsploitation that I can watch while I'm eating some fast food. Excellent! It's called What a Whopper! This British film stars pop singer Adam Faith as a guy who wants to garner interest in his book on the Loch Ness Monster, so he fakes a monster sighting. We take our monster sightings very seriously in 61, mister. You trying to cause a panic again? And regardless if the monster is real or not, make that poster sexy. Lure Nessie out with the promise of a night of deep-sea lovemaking. And if that doesn't put you in the mood, here's the title screen.
Oh, what a weapon.
Who knew the monster was someone's sweet ass this whole time? And in another surprise, with a title like The Devil at 4 O'Clock, I was expecting a western, not a disaster movie about a volcano that starts with a proverb.
An old proverb says, "It is hard for a man to be brave."
Sorry, I'm still stuck on the ancient proverb, "It's plain to see we're over, and I hate when things are over, when so much is left undone." This big-budget film featured both Frank Sinatra and Spencer Tracy, but was maybe a little too ahead of its time, as the movie did underperform at the box office, as it was made long before natural disaster movies were in their prime in the 70s and again in the 90s, even with all the staples here, like romantic subplots.
With the intense drama of hot-blooded human conflict.
It's far easier to put out the volcano than the fire in Frank's pants. It does feel like an awful lot is going on here.
Only a man who thinks he has lost everything, and three men with nothing to lose.
But where's the volcano? It's a romance, a prisoner movie, and a daredevil film.
You jump out, count 10, and pull that ring. You soar like a bird.
Like hell, I'm jumping out of here. I don't care how many trophies I get. Still, Frank will calm him down.
What if it doesn't open?
When you hit the ground, tell me about it, I'll fix it.
The audience is here to see someone jump in a volcano, and that's what we're gonna give them. Not to mention the wackiness. Don't shave during a volcano. You've got my money. Come see The Devil at 4 o'clock with Frank, Spencer, Gilligan, and the skipper too. Just think when time ran out, but with a less smart-ass trailer. Another movie that didn't do well because it was a disaster movie not in the 70s or 90s. But did you think Homicidal would be the only gimmick film this year? Get in the coward's corner, cause we got another first. Who will this be? Who do you choose, audience? Alfred Hitchcock, FDR, or William Castle? Of course it's Castle. When Castle talks, I listen. I'll gladly be part of his murder mystery.
A motion picture audience can actually decide the climax of a picture. I have found such a way.
And if that doesn't work with Mr. Sardonicus, we'll try it again in the 90s with Mr. Payback. The gimmick this time is that the audience can decide the fate of a character on the screen. Sorta. It's not quite a choose-your-own-adventure movie. Though he still gives us a backstory on the concept of choosing life or death.
In ancient Rome, spectators could decree life or death to a gladiator.
And this movie isn't even an epic, but hey, throw some exploitation in the trailer. The trailer goes through other moments in history where thumbs up or thumbs down is used to determine someone's death. Do you like lynch mobs? Then come see our film. I do like how much he loves tapping into the audience's sadistic side to get them to his movie. And also another gimmick is that the trailer doesn't show the face of the title character.
The face of Mr. Sardonicus not be shown. Because I realize that some people in this audience might be adversely affected by it.
And if so, it's off to the coward's corner again. You're ruining things for everyone. Even when the trailer goes to the title screen, the cast list still doesn't show what Mr. Sardonicus looks like. Here he is, by the way. It's honestly a pretty cool movie about a man with a permanent creepy-ass grin who forces a doctor to attempt to fix it. There is something comic book villain origin story about it. Where the gimmick comes in is that audiences were given glow-in-the-dark cards with a thumbs up or thumbs down, and near the end, Castle comes on screen to let the audience decide the fate of Mr. Sardonicus with either a punishment ending or a merciful ending. But while Castle says there's two endings, and that the merciful one was only used rarely due to the poll egging the audience on to vote for death, no one has actually ever been able to find the merciful ending, and the actors involved even say that no such ending was ever shot, which would explain how the poll results are given during the poll scene. But clearly it's also notable for being the first Siskel and Ebert disagreement. But more unanimous praise from critics would come in the movie you've all been waiting for. The musical of 61 to end all musicals of 61. A movie that can get as loud as it wants. But still, thank you for toning down the sound of a thunder of drums. This one is different than the other classics.
West Side Story grows younger.
Take that, Jack. Yes, it's West Side Story, from directors Robert Weiss and Jerome Robbins, based on the Broadway musical, with music from Leonard Bernstein and Stephen Sondheim, which is not only considered to be one of the greatest musical films ever made, but was nominated for a whole 11 Academy Awards and won 10, including Best Picture. Ooh, but you lost one though. Clearly that means the superior Shakespeare adaptation of the year was the winner of 50 Oscars, Romanoff and Juliet. Here the rivalry is between the street gangs, the Jets and the Sharks.
Shoot it, man, shoot it!
Before Switchblades, gangs would defeat each other in a choreographed game of horse. Teen debauchery never looked so big budgeted.
Keep over the grass. Get out of the house. Keep up the block. Get out of here. Keep up the water.
They are dancing with extreme get away from my store energy. This was a time when the streets were riddled with violent thugs and evil Plymouth Furies named Christine. If tensions get any higher, who knows what kinds of scratches they'll be sent home with. You son of a bitch, you know how long it takes to apply my eyeliner? It's a movie that whether you're on the streets or at school, everyone's winning the big dance competition. And hell, Natalie Wood was already having a great year with Splendor in the Grass, but shit, adding this to it makes it a phenomenal 1-2 punch. While Wood got her nomination for Splendor in the Grass, this one did take home Supporting Actor awards for Rita Moreno and George Chakiris. Sure, the movie may be timeless and all, but still, huge mistake for the scene where Mickey Rooney shoos the gangs away from his building. I love musicals, big or small, box office successes or bombs, heartfelt or campy, and here is one so spectacular, no shit it should be studied by anyone dreaming of directing a musical. And same with the Spielberg one, which is a brilliant case of remaking a musical, and it's also great. Not quite as well known as the British film Johnny Nobody, where with a title like that, I'm like, wait, is that the Mickey Rourke movie? The Michael Keaton movie? The Benigni movie? No, this is a courtroom film where a man with amnesia is on trial for murder, and the person who died at the beginning was William Bendix after asking God to strike him dead. Still not as far-fetched as practically ascending to heaven at the end of the Babe Ruth story. But after not getting the ending I wanted in Mr. Sardonicus, maybe this next gimmick movie will have something more to offer.
Put the mask on now.
Ooh, is this when Stanley Ipkiss says smokin' and then crushes a clock with a mallet? Oh, hey, wait, what? Was I right? This is the Canadian cult film The Mask, with a 3D gimmick that I'm sure Castle would approve of.
No, ladies and gentlemen, there is nothing wrong with the projection.
I highly doubt that anyone thought there was something wrong with the projector. Just tell me what I have to put on my face.
Each patron will receive his own miracle movie mask. But let's watch the scene again.
What? Watch it again? Pay attention to your own damn movie, trailer guy! The Miracle Movie Mask, or Magic Mystic Masks, were 3D glasses of course, but given a cool style that fits with the movie. And you would put them on whenever the character would put on this tribal mask, which he becomes obsessed with, as it starts showing him bizarre, dreamlike visions. Still, we don't have William Castle here to explain it to us, but we do have someone else.
The world's greatest connoisseur and collector of masks, Mr. Jim Moran.
Hi, Jim. Who the hell are you? Joking aside, Jim Moran was a famed press agent and publicist at the time who was known for specializing in publicity stunts, so it does make sense he has a small role in this film and intros the trailer. Even if I think he may be bullshitting me.
But nowhere in all my travels I found a mask so absolutely remarkable.
My niece made it for me in her elementary school art class. I taped it to the fridge and it mysteriously fell off. I remember having a VHS of this that Elvira introduced, so yeah, the gimmick works in that I bought it because of how much it advertised being in 3D. Though I remember Elvira not caring too much for it on the tape, I kinda dug how it was this very early entry in psychedelic movies. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but its visuals do keep it engaging, especially if you see it in 3D. But if 3D isn't enough for your headache to return, coming up next, another movie with drum in the title.
They're all ready for you now, so you won't have to miss any of the feature. Come and get them.
We're back, and no one's been properly punched in the face yet, so thank God John Wayne and Lee Marvin are here to help with that. Duke is ready for action. He's coming right through the screen. Same with President John Tyler, Mary Todd Lincoln, Irving from Midnight Screenings, Lee's Pillowcase, Porkins, someone replacing Sandra Dee, and James Bond and Scaramanga? Wait till the 70s movie, you're too early. What are all these people doing here?
Those people you have just seen are waiting to tell you a story.
It's based on a book, isn't it? Yes, it is. It's from a 1952 book from Paul Wellman. Honestly, I remember digging this film when I was a kid. It continued a good year for Stuart Whitman, and is about a gambler on the run from the law, captured by Ranger John Wayne, and they may have to fight some Comancheros or something. I mean, well, yeah, John Wayne is still gonna punch you. For they are the law, the lawless, the lovers? What? Did John Wayne and Stuart Whitman bang in this? Didn't know the Duke had it in him. It was originally envisioned as a Gary Cooper movie, who couldn't do it due to his obvious declining health, and there was still something similar behind the scenes too. Michael Curtis of Casablanca directed the film, but couldn't finish it due to his own health, so John Wayne took over as director, but remained uncredited. It would be Curtis's last film, and was a very good one to go out on. For the movie is new, or at least that guy is. And these clouds are tremendous. Wait till you see the exciting adventure of the new casserole recipe. And it could also be in the Conga or Gorgo universe. It did have a comic book tie-in. At least that title is specific. This one's called Bachelor in Paradise, which any movie in '61 could have been called that. But this one advertises with the world's greatest authority on love, and it isn't me.
This is Bob, the world's greatest authority on love hope.
The fact that you said that so fast doesn't prove well for your lovemaking skills, and neither do lines like this.
Do you find that you're kissing more but enjoying it less?
Then try Bob's new herpes cream. No one will notice the sores when they taste like delicious bananas. So in 1960, Bob had a film where he and Lucille Ball were married to other people and had an affair. And in this one, Bob lives in a housing development where he gives advice to the ladies.
When the husbands go off to work and the wives take lessons in love from the expert.
Girls, I got 2 words for you. Morning head. Oh, and he falls in love with a married woman, Lana Turner. Duh. Remember, just tell the police it's research.
Bachelor Bob calls it research.
How am I supposed to know what advice to give the husband if I don't know how much junk is in the trunk? Sure, he can't babysit or shop at the supermarket or do household chores, but he'll unclog your wife just fine. It was also sold on Jim Hutton and Paula Prentice, who had previous success together in Where the Boys Are.
The couple next door do their own research.
Kissing is the best part after a playful game of get the hell back here. The husbands are also nervous he will literally go to third base with the wives, with no wife being spared.
I can sail a boat, bake strudel, among other things.
Let me hear a little more about the other things.
She can make a hard-boiled egg using just her mouth. But finally, someone has a realistic reaction to the lead talking to the camera.
And what are you people doing in my boudoir?
Huh? What is he doing? Okay, maybe I am better off with my husband. They did intend for there to be a sequel, but it didn't quite do well enough for that to happen. I'm sure any rom-com after could theoretically be a sequel. Maybe not the next movie, Susan Slade, though. Another movie with Troy Donahue and directed by Delmer Daves, so it could be a sequel to Parrish. Hell, the trailer is more interested in the actors themselves.
Troy Donahue and Connie Stevens, mobbed by fans wherever they go.
Actually, we're all just here for marriage advice and Bob's lip cream. Just kidding, everyone loves Parrish, except critics.
The lovers everybody loved in Parrish are together again.
You can tell my sincerity from my awkward pause. Fun and Games is over because this one has a lead girl, so that means hard melodrama about a teen girl who gets knocked up out of wedlock. You want more of my fake names, don't you? It has Emily Hartley, a pencil, Walt Disney, Win, the head of the Thorn cult, and Pinocchio as a real boy. Obviously, this is a very relatable story of a girl who appeals to everyone.
Or in the center of the money-is-no-object social world of a billionaire's playground like Pebble Beach.
It ends with her solving her problems with emergency piles of cash. Just kidding, she has a horse. That means she's one of the commoners. The horse was her abortion doctor. And I'm sorry, is Troy just wearing the same wardrobe from Parrish? Don't worry, girls. If you fear love, this boy with serial killer eyes will show you the way. Oh, sure, it has the excitement of young love today, but if that were true, where's the switchblades and robots and bosomy blonde bombshells? The next one will be more sinful. It has Stella Stevens and doom 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 music.
I'll be ready for you in just a minute.
I've been looking for a movie that's daring like Never on Sunday, but bonus points if you actually bang on Sunday. Even the director is too distracted by her beauty to intro the movie.
'Cause I'll make you happy.
What? Do you mind? I'm watching The Broad over here. This was a personal film for John Cassavetes in fairly ironic ways. He directed and co-wrote the film, which stars Bobby Darin as a musician who wants to keep his artistic integrity and not sell out for money or compromise his vision. Which is kind of what Cassavetes was going through at the time, with the constant fighting with the studio over the movie. It was certainly sold on it being a very good dramatic performance for Darin, too.
What do I have to do? Nothing complicated, just the usual.
Sing her Beyond the Sea while she takes a bath. Despite the solid performances, especially with the early role for the great Stella Stevens, it didn't get great reviews, but it was one that would be rediscovered later, with many modern critics giving it plenty of love for its direction, themes, and performances that it didn't get back then. But on with one of the few musicals of the month. Flower Drum Song may be a lesser-known musical in the season of West Side Story, but it does still have fireworks, literally! This Rodgers and Hammerstein musical adaptation is a very important film, as it was the first major Hollywood movie to feature a large Asian American cast. Take that, Terror of the Tongs! At the end of the day, though, it's still 1961, so of course it didn't do well, despite the play being well known.
For 2 glorious years, Broadway hugged Flower Drum Song to its bosom.
Oh well, that's the problem. I can't press my head against a bosom in the movie version. It takes place in San Francisco's Chinatown, where Willie Scott is obviously still away in Shanghai. It's another love triangle movie, and you can tell because one's talking on the phone like Doris Day.
Into her gay life, there suddenly comes a rival.
Wow, what's this about my daughter being gay? And it's another movie where Mr. Takagi is getting more Nakatomi investors.
Handsome James Shigeta, busy sowing his wild oats.
Hans did say he's the father of 5. Everyone here is looking for love.
She's strong as a cow and just as amiable.
Ripping off my wedding vows again, I see. In the film, a nightclub owner is in love with 2 girls. It's hard to choose. Both can sing and dance, sometimes sexy.
I enjoy being a girl.
That's not as good as my song. I enjoy being a bald man watching Flower Drum Song. Sure, there's also songs about marriage and being a bachelor, but sometimes they're not very original.
Chop suey, chop suey.
Oh, you spent like 5 minutes coming up with that. It has sets so glamorous, I'm expecting her to stay with the Three Stooges at some point. And while that was lesser known than West Side Story, here's a movie with Rita Moreno that's also lesser known than that. In the heat of summer comes a movie that was released in the winter. This is Summer and Smoke from Tennessee Williams and has even bigger fireworks and is also about a love triangle where one of the ones involved is a bachelor.
Lawrence Harvey, who became every woman's lover as the rogue in Room at the Top.
Do you mind? Room at the Top was mentioned in the Too Late Blues trailer. Stop sleeping around with other trailers. The movie features Geraldine Page as a spinster who wants to get to the truth about Slender Man, I guess. It was sold on this being a lead star-making role for her.
Hailed by Tennessee Williams himself as America's finest actress.
Oh, he's biased. Anyway, can't tell this is some Tennessee drama.
I fed them all. as much as I could or as much as I wanted. You fed none. Nothing.
Once more, but with more gritting teeth. And it has Pamela Tuffin as, I don't know, she's the young one.
I get these funny feelings when I'm with boys sometimes.
You mind, showing me? Rita Moreno is, of course, the wild one. I assumed so. However, Lawrence Harvey was criticized for being miscast, and he does seem too intense.
Go through life never known. What a beautiful, wonderful, exciting thing it can be.
Okay, is he seducing her or tenderizing her before he eats her flesh? At least use a cane for the tenderizing.
Get your swine out of my house.
Otis Campbell is gonna think twice before getting drunk in this town again. Come see Summer and Smoke before we burn the whole town down with these illegal fireworks. We get it, it's big budget award season, but give us a drive-in flick, please.
Lot of money, boys. A lot of money.
Is that the money Archall Sr. won from the last time I saw Archie's Settlement? It could be. The movie is written by and produced by Arch Sr., so of course it stars Arch Jr. and is a teen exploitation flick about a gang that steals cars and strips them for parts, much to the horror of the small town.
Sounds like those chicks are allergic to smoke. Reminds me of my mother.
Oh, and they smoke too. Gasp. We can let Arch Sr. explain it.
They were punks, stealing hubcaps for kicks, and then they went after the big stuff.
Yes, punks. Arch was the Dirty Harry of trailer narrators. These kids do more damage with a mallet than cartoon characters.
They call them the Choppers.
Could be worse. Could be in 3D. I love Arch Hall Jr. movies, I love his music, and the way his movies are sold, too.
His first theft was a peanut butter sandwich when he was 6.
Don't ask what he did with the stolen Buck Rogers lunchbox. He pawned it for a bag of Skittles. This is a good one. Not as good as The Sadist or Wild Guitar, but it clearly gave the world car phones that doubled as a detonator. We are very spoiled this month. We have an Arch Hall Jr. movie and an Elvis movie. Point me to whatever drive-in is showing them both. Open wide, Hawaii. Elvis is here to get laid. And how this is Blue Hawaii, where Elvis is back from the army, but this isn't GI Blues, this is different. Here he wants to be a tour guide.
With Elvis as your personal guide to America's exotic Eden.
Oops, don't mind the human sacrifice. For his movies, 1961 was a similar year for Elvis than 1960 was. In 1960, GI Blues was the lighter film and did way better at the box office than the more serious and better reviewed Flaming Star. Here in 61, yeah, this is the lighter film.
Yes, the most gorgeous Wahinis on Waikiki are taking lessons from Elvis.
Only because Bob Hope isn't there to stare at their ass and rub it in their husband's face. So yeah, anyway, Blue Hawaii is the light and harmless one, and did pretty well at the box office. Better than the years earlier Elvis film Wild in the Country. This movie is so light the clothes are coming off.
I don't rob cradles.
Did you ever see anything like this in a cradle?
No, I haven't. That still doesn't mean I won't go to jail. They certainly know how to sell it. The trailer plays his hits like Can't Help Falling in Love. It's perfect for when the boys go off for their private steam. And more dancing than in a John Wayne film, but with punching too. Puts the pun in punch. And he sings in the prison steam rooms too. Come see Blue Hawaii, clearly the cannibal holocaust of the year. They use the pole for limboing, not impaling. Hell, when the next movie opened with the frankest story of a movie star ever told, I thought that would be another pun and that the movie was a Frank Sinatra film or something. But no, it's about someone else.
Of all the glamorous figures, the most colorful, controversial, incredible story...
Is it the Pat Boone story? Whoop, not quite. It's the George Raft story, a rather short biopic. Oh shit, they shot him before they could get to his tombstone. That's kind of close, honestly. The movie is a biopic of actor George Raft, who started in a life of crime before getting exiled to Hollywood and became an actor. No clue on if it touches on the ladies' man, but he was his role in Scarface on and off screen.
Why, you're nothing but a cheap, egotistical...
We needed George around when Weinstein was running things.
I never hit a woman in my life. Would you like me to start now?
Well, to a point, I guess. The film stars Ray Danton and Jane Mansfield, so while it isn't in Danton's Legs Diamond universe, it is in another universe. Because all these gangster movies are in some form. In this, Neville Brand plays Al Capone, which he also did in The Untouchables, placing them in the same universe. If only they remade the movie with De Niro in the 80s. Or made it a screwball comedy since someone gets thrown in a pool.
When the parties were wild and the women were wilder.
In his defense, the angel dust made him think she was on fire. When they mention Castro, we'll move past this possibly being in the Coleman Francis universe. Because this is the era of Jules Verne, a time in film history when Verne was box office gold, whether it's a big budget effects epic or something on the B-movie circuit. Kinda like today with Stephen King, where we'll get ambitious and not ambitious King adaptations. Valley of the Dragons, based on Career of a Comet by Verne, is certainly on the B-movie level, about what happens when a comet smashes into Earth. The one person in the 60s who didn't learn to duck and cover when lava approaches. And much like they teach you in science class, the comet launches them to another world of savage beasts.
Stone Age Mountains and the Valley of the Dragons.
Those are armadillo! I love that this movie wasn't featured on a double bill with Nude on the Moon, but easily could have been. And while it wasn't on Mystery Science Theater, part of it was, since it contains stock footage of a lot of movies, including King Dinosaur. Not to mention where I find out exactly what did happen to my G.I. Joe. Another one it could have been on a double bill with was The Day the Earth Caught Fire. No, that's not the same as this one for Mystery Science Theater. This one's much different. It's about heat. And how? It's a disaster film and also a Cold War thriller, where America and the Soviets test nuclear weapons which shift the axis of the Earth. See what happens when Romanoff and Juliet don't bang? The only thing that can stop the world from tossing my car is the handsome reporter, and...
Jeannie, the girl on the government switchboard.
She also works as a stand-up comedian. Oh, and there's still marital drama, too.
What about a phony Sunday?
Oh, come on now, Pete. We're too old for
I'm not
snuffling.
too old.
Look, I said you could use the...
Your penis has more cobwebs than the attic. Go jerk off and I'll make you a steak. It could be catastrophic that the Earth catches fire, or it could just simply be those kids putting on another musical production outside. I love that this one does get into the pure mass chaos that would happen with the world ending. Though in my case, I'd probably just do some drugs and then watch this next film. Oh crap, I put on the mask again, didn't I? Even better, this is The Innocents, not only one of the best horror films of '61, but one of the best horror films of the '60s in general.
There has never been a ghost story created especially for the adult moviegoer until...
Lest you forget the Coward's Corner. Christ, even the trailer itself is scary as hell.
Do they ever return to possess the living?
Beats me, I won't be there, because the trailer's giving me a heart attack. Is there still some space left in the Coward's Corner? The real ghost is the audio inconsistency when I think they forgot to put the credits somewhere.
Based on the Henry James chiller of macabre evil. Brilliantly adapted for the screen by William Archibald and Truman Capote.
Sounds like my voiceovers whenever I mess up a line in the studio and then have to dub it in at home. So The Innocents is based on The Turn of the Screw and is directed by Jack Clayton. Makes sense, other trailers have mentioned Room at the Top. This one is from the director of Room at the Top, and is about a governess looking after some kids on possible haunted grounds, who will make her beg to watch over the children of the damned instead. Plus it features Alec Baldwin, the killer from He Knows You're Alone, and Whistler's mother. You can't even say someone is handsome in this without getting terrified.
Would you say he was very handsome? Yes, yes, handsome.
I am never complimenting anyone ever again. Must say something negative. Hey, you know what movie was terrible? Remember The Turning from 2020? Put that one on for these kids and they'll be right to kill the babysitter. I'm just glad we're getting an adult picture that does not involve nudists. And for the last time, you don't need to remind me that movies are better if you see them from the beginning. I'm guessing this one will be more Hollywood, though, and features the nut at his nuttiest. Who is nutting now? It's Hollywood. Do I want to know? Oh, thank goodness, it's just Jerry again. You remember him as the bellboy, and now... That's how with a thing in the world. That's wacky. We must stop giving him these jobs. Bellboy, errand boy, don't make him the paper boy, or he'll gladly run into death than the damn skateboarder. Again directed by Jerry, here he works on a studio lot where, oh geez, I'm sorry Mr. Douglas, don't slap me. And the producers are angry.
That screw loose imitation of a human being has disrupted this studio beyond control.
He's gonna take it out on the nearest secretary's ass that needs a pinchin'. Boy, oh boy, sets back then were dangerous. How could they even get insured with Jerry destroying everyone's props? But it's not all zany.
Let's show you a few of its quieter moments.
You lie! That wasn't a quiet moment at all! I'm starting to think he has bad luck no matter where he goes. Some of this is just confusing.
Escorts a Hollywood star home from a premiere and almost makes the grade.
What the hell happened there? Did he just come onto her and did she turn into a cannon and shoot him? Just imagine Damien Chazelle's Babylon without the orgies and with champagne sprayed in your face instead of, well, you know. Don't know exactly what the movie's about. Who cares? He just delayed several more productions, even more than COVID did. Coming up next, it's the last month of the year, and we've got a Heston epic, and more importantly, a look at the epic-exploitation movies released all throughout the world.
Visit our snack bar and treat yourself to some delicious Castleberry's pit-cooked barbecue sandwiches.
We have made it to December, but don't think that we're almost done. Like June, there's a ton of releases here, but before we get to those, let's take a look at some epic-exploitation released in other countries in '61 before making it to the States in later years. Movies such as Hercules in the Valley, Mole Men Against the Son of Hercules, Vengeance of Ursus, or movies we'll get in '62 like Samson and the Seven Miracles of the World, just regular old Ursus. Then in '63 we'd get Valley of the Lions, regular old Samson, Atlas Against the Cyclops, the Giant of Metropolis, and in '64, Goliath and Vampires. I think these are all taking liberties from scripture and Greek mythology. Also, Hercules and the Captive Women and Hercules in the Haunted World. What, no Hercules against the Room at the Top? I'll tell you what now, all of these epic-exploitation films have angered the epic god of Heston. We don't know if we're getting a Heston epic or an interpretive dance of a Heston epic. In this film, he fights against a gang of warlords who got dust blown in their face from a tailpipe. After leaving Spartacus as well as Cimarron, Anthony Mann came back with a vengeance with the hit El Cid. That's Arabic for the Cid. Charlton Heston stars as the Spanish fighter Rodrigo Diaz del Vivar, who faces the Moors. I mean, obviously. Wait, I thought for sure Charlton Heston was Mexican. The film does promise to be the greatest romance and adventure in 1,000 years. Look, it even says that on the poster. It is true, he probably hooked up a lot more than Francis of Assisi. There was certainly a lot riding on Heston here after the monumental success of Ben-Hur, and it paid off. Wait, Caligula? Sorry, when you've seen Stomach Ass Man, you tend to think about it a lot. This almost contains the slapping action of other films this year.
I swear it!
Do I look like I'm in a ranch set melodrama? No one slaps Heston! As I was saying, the film did go on to be one of the 10 highest grossing movies of the year, and it was a hit with critics too, but didn't get the awards recognition Ben-Hur did. even with keeping the cross there for good luck. I'd like to think they're still being watched over with the blessings of Jeffrey Hunter. You can tell when a movie is long. Yes, it's an old school epic, but when you think the trailer is over, there's still a minute left. They're literally writing this one out. I will talk more about this in the future, as it was requested for a Midnight Screenings review on Patreon. You know what else I'd like to spotlight? The movie in which Johnny Cash plays a murderer who takes hostages.
See Johnny Cash and Kay Forrest at Go the Limit in Door-to-Door Maniac.
Oh, sorry. Sometimes it's called Door-to-Door Maniac. That's even better. I love this trailer already.
It could be your street, your house, your life.
Johnny Cash is gonna perform in my neighborhood? It's one of the very few Johnny Cash movies, and he's making the most out of it.
You ain't got hardly no time at all.
Yeah, this is to Johnny what The Sadist was to Arch Hall Jr. Written by and co-starring Kay Forrester. Can you sell me even more?
Donald Woods, Ronnie Howard of the Andy Griffith TV show.
I'm starting to think that Barney Fife was terrible at keeping law and order in Mayberry. To hell with you if you go to the coward's corner here.
Go on, kill me, kill me, kill me!
I just climaxed too. Even the characters in the next film are on edge from Johnny's wrath.
Une jeune fille qui court.
Or maybe, I don't know what she said, but it probably had something to do with a Tennessee stud. This French film is called Paris Belongs to Us. Well, it only belongs to you because these two haven't claimed ownership yet. I have to support this French new wave thriller. It's directed by an actual film critic, Jacques Rivette. Hell, Jean-Luc Godard even has a cameo in it. 4 stars, and I haven't even seen it yet. The film is a mystery about a possible suicide, which also touches on McCarthyism and Shakespeare's Pericles. I already said 4 stars. No need to continue. After all, the next film also has stunning reviews, apparently.
Evening news. Not to be enraptured with it is to be tired of life.
The evening news has never steered me wrong, so long as they tell me to instantly see the Johnny Cash film. But who can argue with these words?
Daily Herald. Best screen musical ever made in England. The film fizzes.
Excellent. Sounds like it works as a movie and as a soda. I love how much more to the point the reviews get.
Daily Mail. Cliff Richard is great.
That doesn't mean the person liked it. Originally intended as a vehicle for the band The Shadows, until they were like, let's put some actors in it. The film did do great at the British box office, and was the second biggest hit of the year over there, behind Guns of Navarone. That's because it's for everyone!
It doesn't matter. We don't care how old you are. Whether you're 9 or 99.
Perfect for if you're in diapers at any age. Also, why are you still in diapers at 9? It's your standard, let's put on a show type of musical, and with significantly less switchblade action than the Young Savages. They're much more wholesome here. And there's also family melodrama.
Making a takeover bid, but this time the opposition's his own son.
Excellent 60s Max and Chip Shrek are working out a deal. Sometimes, if I take my glasses off, can't tell if movie musical or Nazi-sploitation film. Or an Elvis movie.
When the girl in your arms.
I joke, but this movie drops hints that are anything but subtle.
I'm only a girl, just like any other.
Thanks, 60s jealous girlfriend meme. It is random what they're singing about here.
Space! They said we'd never win.
Sweet, it's a sci-fi film now. A rollicking tune dedicated to being nude on the moon. Why not? I question gravity here. Even Gene Kelly didn't do this in the rain. I can see why this was a hit. This extra long trailer goes all out in being a spectacle in and of itself. But seriously, where is Rick Mayall? It is called The Young Ones after all. You could also take your young ones to this if they're good and high.
Set free your imagination and come with us.
Excellent. Miss Velma was given a budget. And they could only afford St. Affleck's stunt double from Francis of Assisi. I'm proud to be front row center, though I've been tricked before, and am worried someone will throw me in a van and make me have fun in Balloon Land. This is the big holiday season epic, Babes in Toyland. Was this a box office disappointment? I feel like it was, despite finding an audience later. It's notable as being Disney's first big live-action musical epic, though if you look at the low-quality version of the trailer, it almost looks like a Barry Mahan film you'd see inside of Santa and the Ice Cream Bunny. Starring Ray Bolger as the evil master from Manos, The Hands of Fate, with his latest diabolical plan to kidnap Mary Contrary's fiancé. Right out of the Mickey Mouse Club, too!
Tommy Sands and Annette.
Frankie Avalon is also hanging out with Saint Affleck. There's other Disney staples here, like Ed Wynn and Tommy Kirk. It's also got the green they couldn't show in the black and white absent-minded professor. And it's 60s Disney. It's gonna have Kevin Corcoran there. Based on the operetta from 1903, which had previously been adapted as the Laurel and Hardy film from 1934, this is the Disney version though, which means it was nicknamed Babes in Disneyland, considering how much it deviates from the source material. Not that that's unique for a Disney adaptation, of course. Originally intended as an animated film, they decided to go the route of wanting a modern Wizard of Oz or live-action cartoon. Ironically, much better than when they would do literal live-action remakes decades later. While not seeing a profit till later on down the road, it still has a lot of iconic imagery, like the toy soldiers, which would appear in other Disney movies and in their parades. And yet what shocks me the most is Jerry Lewis is nowhere to be found here. Hell, I'm half expecting the Three Stooges to also cameo in it. Though Annette Funicello still talked very highly of the movie, saying it was her favorite movie role, and it'd be mine too. It has its own pink elephant sequence, kinda. If the magic Christmas tree is your gateway drug, Babes in Toyland is a full-course hallucinogenic platter. Only thing missing is Danny and Sandy waving goodbye at the end. Now in the 80s retrospectives, we run into movies featured on the Cinema Snob quite a bit, but in the 60s, I think it took until now to get to a Cinema Snob episode, and of course it's one of the nudist films. Doris Wishman's Diary of a Nudist. It had better be a picture diary. I am here for tons of 1960s nudity. This is the movie about a female reporter who was sent in to do a story on a nudist camp, and lo and behold, she too becomes a nudist. That's because no one told her about the Russ Meyer peeping Toms staring at her from the trees. This was one of the uncensored episodes I did for a DVD and also on our Uncut channel. My biggest memory of it was how it constantly obscured characters' mouths with phones, newspapers, and anything else to make the dubbing easier. But back to Disney, or, well, not really, but it is an Aladdin movie, and just the quality of the trailer alone makes this Italian film look even bigger budgeted than Babes in Toyland, even though I'm sure that's not the case. This comedy version of Aladdin, called The Wonders of Aladdin, promised to be the most delight-filled entertainment ever to tickle your fancy. No thanks, the Handyman and Lucky Pierre have tickled my fancy enough this year. The film starred the great Donald O'Connor in the title role, and, okay, just like Aladdin. Looks more like when Roberto Benigni went from Pinocchio to a real boy. From director Henry Levin of Where the Boys Are, and produced for MGM, it still had some Italian flair in there though, as the second unit director and special effects supervisor was Mario Bava. And hell, in Italy, they just flat out credited him as the director. The movie was a box office disappointment, but I'm sure not nearly as disappointing as the hypothetical Italian version of Return of Jafar. The much bigger Italian hit of the month was naturally the one that puts #1 right in the trailer. This is the epic-exploitation film The Colossus of Rhodes.
The fabulous Colossus astride the harbor of Rhodes, city of sin.
Uh-oh, who's calling the Grammys satanic now? This looks like what goes on in the Temple of Doom if they have too much brainwashing blood and just get drunk off their asses. It's a much more notable film than some others like it, because one, Jesus, this is still an impressive looking film, and also it was the first feature film for the legendary Sergio Leone. Certainly a lesser known movie of his. and his only one without an Ennio Morricone score, but in it, Rory Calhoun gets himself involved with 2 different plots to overthrow the king. Not surprising that plot could also work as a spaghetti western. This movie demands respect.
Colossus of Rhodes is one motion picture that for bigness and excitement has the right to be called colossal.
It went to 7 years of graduate school to get its doctorate in colossal. And you can see seeds of advertisement that in later years would go to the Caligula's exploitation films.
The infamous Chamber of Orgies. The Arena, terrifying Coliseum.
I mean, 1961 orgies, and it's not a nudist film, so he might see a little bit of leg. The biggest orgy you'll see is the revolt of slaves, like arrows ruining another perfectly good gladiator game, and more unfortunate wording.
Until nature itself looses its fury in awesome holocaust.
Not sure that many movies could include the phrase awesome holocaust in the trailer. Though again, maybe some of these exploitation flicks look a bit better because this was when the major studios would partner with some mockbusters. This one, though, isn't just greatness, but it explodes into greatness so soon after Babes in Toyland tickled my fancy. Though I don't know if this is taking place in Toyland, it's Judgment at Nuremberg. Thank God this didn't have the same trailer narrator as Colossus of Rhodes. From Stanley Kramer, the director of Inherit the Wind, comes another riveting courtroom drama starring Spencer Tracy, this time dealing with a judge presiding over the military tribunal in Nuremberg for the Nazis' crimes against humanity. I know this term gets thrown around a lot, but it is an absolute powerhouse of a drama. One of the best of '61 in my opinion. Talk about an actor's film. You've got Burt Lancaster here as a Nazi defendant. Needless to say, a far cry from helping out the young savages. You are hooked on every single line from all of these haunting performances. Some of the best of these actors' careers, from Richard Widmark to Montgomery Clift, definitely Maximilian Schell, who won a Best Actor Oscar for the film, and a wildly against type role for Judy Garland in a dramatic turn as a witness for the prosecution. And he's not featured in the trailer, but Shatner's great in the film too. They are acting their asses off here between these brilliant performances and the docu-like feel of the movie with its cinematography and monologues. It could go hand in hand with something like Kubrick's Paths of Glory. It's a disturbing film, a very human film, and definitely one you should put near the top of your list from this video. Not quite as well known as another war film of the month, The Outsider, starring Tony Curtis. Kinda the Flags of Our Fathers of its time. It's a biopic where Tony plays Native American Marine Ira Hayes, who famously helped raise the flag at Iwo Jima. The movie also heavily gets into his life post-war and his battles with alcoholism till his tragic death at the age of 32. Though looking at it now, I can't help but think the great imposter has found his most cancelable disguise yet. I'm not entirely sure he's Sicilian, but I do know that the person here is definitely Billy Wilder.
The man at the top of the ladder is Billy Wilder. He specializes in screen comedy.
And he's about to sing Cool Rider. Billy was on a roll as a director, as the trailer will tell you.
Remember how he made you howl and Some Like It Hot?
Great movie, but I howled because I stubbed my toe in the theater.
Remember how he delighted you in The Apartment?
Oh, that's 200 affair movies ago. This is the comedy 1, 2, 3. Uh-oh, looks dangerous. Is Jerry on set? Don't give fire to the errand boy. The movie stars James Cagney channeling some comedy skills.
Yes, sir. And send Ingeborg in here with pad and pencil. Yes, sir. Elma. 1, 2, hey!
And with some Gallant Towers-like military skills in there. Don't worry, the movie will reference other 1960 movies too.
I'm going to lead the workers down there in revolt! Put your pants on, Spartacus.
Topical, but I'm still waiting for a Legs Diamond reference. Here Cagney is an executive for Coca-Cola who has to take care of the boss's daughter. Years later, we'd split the two and make the Coca-Cola Kid and my boss's daughter. This wasn't one of Wilder's more successful films. The reviews were okay, and commended the film for its fast pace, which the trailer certainly is too, but the movie itself underperformed. Here's the problem: you didn't put the title on the shaking ass and make it about finding the Loch Ness Monster. It's notable too for filming in Berlin, but due to the construction of the Berlin Wall, they had to move filming to Munich. And while Heston's follow-up to Ben-Hur was El Cid, now we have Ben-Hur director William Wyler's follow-up, The Children's Hour, a drama starring Audrey Hepburn, Shirley MacLaine, and notably James Garner, in his first role after suing Warner Brothers to be let go from that studio. The trailer is shot like a horror film, which, hell, after The Innocents and with a title like this, I would have assumed so. What the movie actually is pretty controversial for the time. It's about an asshole student at a girls' school who accuses two teachers of being lesbians and how the rumor destroys their lives and leaves the two shunned. Based on the play by Lillian Hellman, sadly the film didn't do well, but it is worth it for the strong performances and being just a disturbing and sad reminder of what the world was and how weirdly it seems there's people who want to go back to that. It kinda is a horror film, actually. But it's been a little bit since we had someone intro a trailer, so let's get Ed Sullivan here to intro this like it's a rock band.
I'm Ed Sullivan, and this is Broadway, still the most exciting street in the world.
That's nice. Where's the titty bars and theaters showing Lucky Pierre? And who's Ed talking to? Is he selling the movie to me or the camera crew? Also, I love that it seems like he's just finding out about the movie as he's talking about it.
A Capra picture that's a miracle of laughter, warmth, and sheer delight called Pocketful of Miracles.
He's also itching to go to 42nd Street. This was the final film for Frank Capra. Serves him right for shooting me in the head. It's also a remake of his earlier film, Lady for a Day, and stars Bette Davis as Apple Annie, a street beggar, and Glenn Ford as a gangster, plus other shenanigans.
How's Mom? Yeah, she's okay. She's all right. Good.
Maybe I'll have to see the movie to find out the context for that, and whatever this narration means.
Meet Dave the Dude. He's got a heart where his heater should be.
Damn, it's hard living life without an installed heater in my chest. Plus, it has the most jovial way to describe alcoholism.
Meet Apple Annie. Apples in her basket, gin on her hip, miracles up her sleeve.
Until Glenn warms her heart by giving her a turtle dove. And as for Hope Lang...
It's Hope Lang, and she's covered with stardust.
At least that's what we're telling her. It's kind of a makeover film where they try to class up Apple Annie, and it did get Peter Falk his second nomination for an Oscar. It seems like yet another movie set intruded by the errand boy. I think there was an assault, but hey, someone won some quarters. The hell is happening here? The next one may be easier to follow.
This is the Havisham branch of the City and Colonial Bank.
It's closed on Sunday, so you'll have to see another movie. You can tell we're in December movies because there's starting to be more references to Christmas, with this one taking place on the 23rd. The movie is Cash on Demand, where bank manager Peter Cushing is taken hostage.
And immediately I'm shown in here and left alone with Fordyce. I could have stuck a gun in his ribs as soon as the door closed.
Damn, British bank robbers are the most charming people I've ever seen. It's a different type of Hammer film, but still with worthy villains. Dude is sophisticated but wildly intimidating. And he wants a plate of fish? Oh, I see. Why is it abbreviated like a 2000s movie? The film got high praise for its suspense and performances. He'll slap him into a duel if he doesn't get his money. I just want to see more Andre Morel doing lines like this.
And your wife would be subjected to the most unbearable torture.
Well, that's disturbing, but I may be in love with you. It was also based on a play and is perfect to see for Christmas unless you told Santa you wanted Cash McCall on demand. Damn, I should have been more specific. We've had movies with Rock Hudson and Doris Day, but did you think we would go without a movie featuring both Rock Hudson and Doris Day? That movie is Lover Come Back, and what a pitch!
I'm just a slave to any man who uses Vip.
Yes, the good old days. It doesn't take long into the trailer to have pillow talk like split screen and phone conversations and Tony Randall. Also, it's another movie about a misunderstanding. No, you don't understand. It was Kirk who slapped the broad in The Last Sunset. But of course, Rock is totally into the undersexed ladies.
Well, I'm not undersexed.
I'm sure you're not.
I thought I got rid of the House of Babes and come September. But if you've had a hard day at work, don't you worry. That's what a massage is for.
I am not your sugar lump. And stop nibbling on me.
What? The masseuse is just trying to earn his tip. Same with the scientist.
Jack Crucian as the scientist, Dr. Linus Tyler.
I will never again prostitute my genius.
What if I pay double to pour that hot flask on my chest? With all this stuff going for it, of course it was a hit. But why is Rock looking like Turtle Man from Master of Disguise after taking the handsome buddy love potion? It's a movie about people who would rather explode than go to bed with someone.
In your apartment? Alone with you? All night? Well, I don't know.
For the last time, he's not interested. While Pillow Talk is the one that's a bit more remembered, Show Lover Come Back Some Love Too. It was a big hit in its day, with even a nomination for Best Screenplay. But this is a movie I should definitely spotlight sometime. It's Everything's Ducky, a film about two sailors who bring a talking duck onto their ship.
Ducks don't talk.
Oh no, ducks don't talk.
Let's not be bigoted. Just because I have webbed feet doesn't mean I'm incapable of articulate expression.
Just imagine Dirty Duck without the sex and violence. While I'm very disappointed there isn't more footage of this readily available, it is notable that a movie about a talking duck is what led to the formation of the Stuntman's Association due to Rooney walking off set because of amateurs during a bar fight scene. Whoop, it's been 5 minutes though. We got another Jules Verne adaptation soaring in, where we'll fly to the end of the Earth. Wait, that's not Earth, that's Epcot Center. And it's a motion picture full of dreams.
Whatever you have imagined in your wildest dreams now becomes a visual reality.
It's about a fire-breathing stomach-ass man. Can't see very much here, but I can sum it up for you. It takes place during the Civil War, in which a group of soldiers escape in a hot air balloon and land on an island where they get crabs. Big, itchy crabs. Just think Frankenstein Island without the superimposed John Carradine, or Dinosaur Island without banging in a hot tub. A little poultrygeist in there too. It does look kinda awesome. I'd be sold on it, especially with the Harryhausen effects. Though I might have a more surprised reaction to giant bees.
What's it doing?
Hi, can I borrow some honey? We're just not digging the plain Cheerios. Need another reason to be sold?
Also starring Herbert Lom as the mysterious Captain Nemo.
Yes, Herbert Lom, the Nautilus, and a devilfish?
The fight to the death with a prehistoric devilfish.
Movie, please. There is such a thing as being too good. It is an impressive spectacle. From director Cy Enfield and frequent Harryhausen producer Charles Schneer, the movie received positive reviews for its high energy and clear love of the fantasy adventure genre. Next one would have to step it up. It's just about a crooked ship. No word on if it goes to a mysterious island. Just imagine Cash on Demand if the robbers tried getting away on a stolen vessel after a bank robbery, and it was very zany. Starring Robert Wagner, the movie would also be the last film for Ernie Kovacs, who would tragically die only a month after the movie's release. Oh, whoa, wait, what's going on with this one? Did someone put on the magic, mystic, mask thing, whatever it was called? Mask 3D, alright? But this is a different movie on the cinema horizon. It's new and unusual. It's the movie with Melanie Griffith and Jeff Daniels in Saul Bass vision? No, not quite. This one is unapologetically dark and brutal. Same thing happened when Carrie White visited a museum. In this thriller, Carol Baker plays a rape survivor who, as if that wasn't bad enough, she's taken in by someone claiming to be a helper at first.
Why do you want me to stay here? If you're away from me, you'll be at the bottom of the river.
See, what have I told you all? Stay away from any dude on social media who claims to be a nice ally. Though it's the first time I've seen New York credited as a supporting character, but I may have seen it shot like this. It's almost a West Side Story angle. The movie is a hidden gem worth checking out for its fantastic cinematography, tension, and acting. It underperformed at the box office, but over the years has been spotlighted at numerous re-releases and shown love from newer critics and audiences. It's okay though, the next one will have significantly less rape and kidnapping.
Hi! Have you ever been on a cross-country fun chase?
No, I haven't. That old broad scared me away from trains. The second time around stars Debbie Reynolds, seen here getting her Red Ryder BB gun for Christmas. Wait, she's tangling with He-Men who want to stay free men? That's the worst pitch for He-Man toys I've ever heard. In the film, she takes her kids to Arizona so she can find a fresh, new, horny-ass husband.
You see, Debbie's looking for a man her kids can call father.
And she herself wouldn't mind calling someone daddy. I'm not sure about some of these other lines here.
Mother, don't grab me when I'm naked.
Step away from the child, ma'am. It's a comedy western where they punch so hard the cast pops up like POW effects. The film features Scott Aukerman, Antenna TV, your hot neighbor's strict mother, and a fake Mexican. This feels like early 20th century women taking advice from The Bachelor in Paradise.
As she found out all the things a girl must do to hook a wedding-shy guy.
I, for one, base all of my brides on their accuracy at chopping wood. It almost feels like the exact same movie would be happening if it was about Jerry Lewis getting hired as a ranch hand. Also, it's about her running for sheriff, because the movie is also part Cat Ballou.
And then the fireworks really began.
She won her election based on her stern just go into a bar and shoot someone policy. Again, I'm telling you people, keep the brawls to a bare minimum. Debbie is out shooting in the rain. What a glorious feeling. I think there's also a love triangle too. Not sure. Even the title is tripping over shit. Now, we've seen behind the scenes at plenty of these studios, but what about what's inside the offices at Warner Brothers?
A fascinating place, rich with memories of movie greats.
Oh yeah? I don't see Legs Diamond on that wall. We may have caught director Mervyn LeRoy at a bad time.
I've just been looking at photographs of some of my favorite people.
Here's Shirley MacLaine in a towel, Julie Newmar in a towel, and John Wayne in a towel. How did that get there? The movie he's promoting is called A Majority of One, and he still seems to be getting a little sidetracked.
To tell you about it, I'd first have to tell you about a lady I fell in love with last year. Her name's Bertha.
Well, she sounds like she has a good personality, maybe.
What kind of a woman is Bertha? Well, here she is in her apartment.
I just got my hidden camera footage back today. Let's check her out as she makes breakfast and takes a shower. In the movie, Bertha has to move from Brooklyn all the way to Japan with her daughter and son-in-law. And here's where the casting gets interesting.
And here is Alec Guinness as Mr. Asano.
Hey, flower drum song tried, right? What's wrong? Couldn't get Mr. Takagi on the line? So Alec Guinness is a Japanese businessman who befriends Bertha. I am not the Japanese actor you're looking for. Oh wait, that's why Legs Diamond isn't on the wall. His picture is right there. Ray Danton plays the son-in-law. It's refreshing to see him in something that isn't a gangster film. Also, I think Merwin stayed up all night coming up with these trailer jokes.
And that's what puts the yaks in the sukiyaki.
That's right, she's tangling with He-Man who want to stay ramen. The most surprising thing is that these two aren't played by Jim Hutton and Paula Prentice. And she's testing out the baths in case Mickey Rooney wants to go for a dip. For it's a wonderful picture for wonderful people. Might as well say, go see this movie. What are you, an asshole? We are finally at the last film of 1961. Will we go out with a bang, or will we deflate like a balloon? What do you think? The movie is called Flight of the Lost Balloon. But it is another film based on the works of Jules Verne, where in the film a professor goes to Africa in a balloon to rescue an explorer. Also, there's a villain named the Hindu, original. The film even tried to have a gimmick, too. No joke, people at movie theaters were given a motion sickness pill. What kind of gimmick is that? Come see our movie, you'll get a stomachache! This kind of gimmick was later improved upon with the barf bag. But now I want to know what the pill actually was. And if it was an ingenious way for the studio to get good reviews by drugging them up. Didn't help. The movie didn't get good reviews. And there we have the films of 1961. An overwhelming amount of movies that got okay reviews, or did mediocre business, or bad business. But even with that said, we still got plenty of classics during the year, some of which set standards for their genres and for style as well. But allow me to announce the winners of 1961, and those winners are gangster universes, sequels to non-Sandra Dee movies with Sandra Dee, sequels to Sandra Dee movies without Sandra Dee, a 1-2 punch of James Segata in a nice suit, Romeo and Juliet adaptations, Jim Hutton and Paula Prentice having a honeymoon machine with The Bachelor in Paradise, Troy Donahue's Red Jacket, nudist camps on the moon, Arch Hall Sr. in court, Arch Hall Sr. in the director's chair, screaming crowds of people, actresses in towels, and the winner of 1961, The Coward's Corner. The rest of the 1960s will have to remain on pause for a little bit, as yes, we will be getting to 1962 in film, but for now we're gonna jump way ahead in the future to 1983 in film. I don't have to change my clothes at all, just gotta switch out the posters in the background. Time travel.
No mercy. So be it.